Athletes are always challenging themselves to get better. You've seen this in all sports. Esports is no exception. You can never predict the outcome. The only thing you can control is how ready you are. Over and over, players adapt, trying to improve, fighting hard for every percent gained. Give everything you've got to the challenge and show your finest. Bring your best out. Strive for perfection. It's our goal too.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to day number 2 of the Week 3 Bottom 16 reseeding tournament. We are here to figure out who will be having the best opportunity to get into that weekly survival series next week. I am Poisaurus. Joining me on the desk today is Mr. Martin, Avenger Goat, and Mr. Dustin Godspeed Ken. Gentlemen, how are you doing today?
I'm doing fantastic. I love how you slaughter my name every time.
Every time. I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do with the O with the line through it. I got nothing.
I'll try to teach you again like the next couple of years maybe. I'm super happy to kind of round out this weekend here with you guys. Also super happy to see you, Pro, that you kind of got a theme going with, the winter going on. You got snow on your shirt. I like that.
That's true. A little something. We got power back finally, so it's clutch. We like it. Meanwhile, in sunny Los Angeles, Mr. Godspeed, how are you doing, sir?
Hey, I mean, it was a little cold today, man. It was like 68 degrees, so it was.
Wow.
I had to put I had to put a jacket on. And also, Martin, you have to remember, Poro has never worked with you before, so he wouldn't know how to say your name.
Never? Oh, well, I just usually stick to the Avenger.
Yeah,
it's true. Well, let's take a look at our standings real quick. We've gotten 4 games out of the way. We got 4 more left to go. And after our first 4, after a fantastic day on Yesnaya, really, not even Erangel, It's mostly just Yes9. Metagaming in first place, 46 points. Sonic's right behind them with 44. Division X having a heck of a day for themselves, 36 points. But now that we've kind of gotten halfway through, boys, I'm starting to look towards the bottom of the leaderboard there a little bit. I know you wanted to say a little bit about something about T1 there, didn't you, Godspeed?
Yeah, I mean, T1 is a team that we all agree has a really talented roster and has the capability of being a really nutty team. The issue is that I feel like they lack leadership, on top of the fact that they're never really proactive. Anytime we see them in a fight, or every time we see them try to hold their own, it's always in reaction to someone else crashing or someone else pushing them. And I feel like they're just never ahead of any of the team fights they've been in, and thus far they've been wiped.
Mr. Avenger, do you think we're being too hard on them?
Kind of both yes and no. I mean, they I completely agree with what Godspeed is saying. I mean, this is a super talented roster, and the potential that they have is quite high. But for the 3 games that they managed to play in our Reader Series, they had a 3rd and a 2nd and a 16th place, which was really impressive. But like, if they have 3 more games, or if they have 3 games again going into the next weekly survival, I think they're gonna have a really hard time. Even in our first weekly survival, they had all 16 games and they didn't manage to qualify with that, so they really need to step up. But I was impressed with how much they got out of the 3 games. Like, they were super close 2 times. The last game was 16th place. It doesn't matter too much, but they're super close. But after looking at their kind of progression from week 1 to week 2, if they have, I don't know, 5, maybe 8 games or something like that, I think they could potentially go into the weekly finals, and I think that format suits them a lot more. I don't feel like they're ready to, or they are. It's a fact they're not adapting well enough right now, and especially with the change in lobbies, with the change in teams, with the change in meta that is constantly shifting here in this format.
Got to be quick on your feet to adapt in this meta as we change constantly from weekend to weekdays. I mean, look, we're obviously 4 games through, and we got meta at the top of the leaderboard. Let's give them their flowers while they're there, Godspeed. They played really well, didn't they?
Yeah, I mean, Sparking, Wicked, all of them, honestly. Like, the entire team of meta, they've really seemed to put things together. They look so good in team fights. Their patience, knowing when to third party. They've just been playing really good PUBG, and it's been really great to see that as well. I like when South America really comes and shows up.
Oh yeah, and they were looking phenomenal yesterday, especially considering, once again, Mr. Avenger, we got 2 Yasnaya games, and not just Yasnaya area. We're talking Yasnaya. I mean, it's like it feels like we're constantly finding ourselves in the cities. And I know you touched on this yesterday a little bit during the cast, but the changes in the first circle kind of making that a more, maybe a less rare occurrence now. Is that what we're kind of thinking?
Well, technically, with how the settings is, it shouldn't be, but it's just we see new circles constantly as well, and changes go into effect a lot, and also sometimes changes come with patches. Like, the algorithm can have the RNG that is built into the algorithm, and how the RNG is built into how the circles is, so they become less predictable, also changes over time. But often it comes with patches as well, and settings is also a huge factor. And the amount of urban endings we've seen, I like it. I really enjoy it. But it's an extreme curveball for these teams to, on top of the changing lobbies, the format, the win or get out, everything. It's just a lot of things to kind of comprehend for these teams. But it's super entertaining to watch. I'm kind of happy I'm not playing. I think Godspeed would really feel the same.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. As a former player, if I saw these circles, I'd pull my hair out. I haven't seen some of the circles that we've seen in, I mean, honestly, years. Like, some of the circles that have been popping up over this event. But I mean, Martin is 100% right. That's what makes it so entertaining. And although, yeah, it's a big stress factor for the teams, it's a hell of a competition. And honestly, I think the teams that are finding the most consistency are earning it. So, yep.
As Uncivil said earlier this week, the S in PGI.S is standing for stressful, and that is something that all of these teams are having to adapt and work around. Okay, so we're seeing meta on screen right now. Another team I wanted to touch on real quick, Martin, Navi, they had a great win, final game of the day, 20 points to go along with the 10 points that they were able to rack up from the 3 other games. Which Navi is the real Navi?
The Navi that is still playing right now is a Navi that had to do a substitute change for the kind of rough games that they've had, and they're not happy in a situation that they are in right now. And I think their extreme edge strategy is just not working out in a center heavy meta that we see right now, because there's just too many teams, and like everything is occupied for them. The game that we saw in yesterday that they won, they were kind of in a situation where they were expecting to kind of go into the city, but it worked out for them. They managed to play on the west side of the road there, and it worked out quite nicely for them. And once they get into that kind of boots on the ground play style where they don't have to worry about their backs and they can play 180 degrees forward, they're just super good team, a super good team, that's for sure.
It's okay. You can say they got circle luck. It did happen.
Some.
Sometimes. Here's a team that. Oh, go ahead. Well, yeah, true. But you know what? You still got to get the win, right? You still, even if you do get the circle favor, you're hanging out on the bottom there. There was a number of times where they probably could have lost some people in front of that game, but they didn't. You got to give them props for that. DXG, meanwhile, has been surprising to say the least. Godspeed. We've been kind of watching them yesterday and just kind of like, wow, where's this team been? They're looking fantastic.
Yeah, I don't know where they've been, but it's really nice to see them playing this way. Making multiple bottom 16s is definitely not ideal, but DXG, I think, is a team that is. I mean, if they continue to play like they did yesterday, they should be on their way to like a #1 spot for the next weekly survival.
Well, I think we're all heading into game right now, so we'll try to wrap it up. I got a couple of questions. I want to see what you have to say, Martin. Around that, obviously, we're going to see some kind of shakeup. Who do you have your eyes on as a team that's maybe hanging around the middle, maybe towards the bottom, that's going to climb up today?
LG Divine.
LG Divine.
Ooh,
I love it. Easy, simple. Godspeed.
Petrichor Road, baby.
Petrichor Road. All right. Well, we are ready to head into game number 1, and here to bring you all the action is The Sims and Cameron Dam Davis. Guys, take it away.
Dan Davis, apparently. Poro's coming in high today. Right. We are ready to rock and roll. We start off with Miramar. This is game number 5 of 8. I tell you what, Cammy, you know what? They looked yesterday. They said, okay, look, NA desk, it's going well. EU casting team, it's going well. We need to split this up because neither EU or NA is at the top. It's currently LATAM that are sitting there. Meta Gaming coming in the first spot today. They are looking strong, but it's been tough at the top. There are challenges ahead of them. Many teams are starting to crawl up there. We've got Sonics hot on their heels in second place. We got DXG yesterday with a ton amount of firepower they brought to the party. Honestly, it's getting tough at the bottom as well. On the other side of it, we've got 2 teams that are less than 10 points across 4 games. It's not been going well so far. I honestly think, Cammy, we're in for a belter of a game.
Yeah, I mean, the games last week are exciting. We saw a couple of different upsets of expectations. I mean, Detonation Gaming White, who won the bottom 16 last weekend, they are down at the bottom with T1 and TM, but they're in 14th place right now, which, yeah, if they stay here, is going to give them a couple of games. And what we saw during the weekly survival is always that one team that only needs 1 or 2, but you still don't want to assume that's going to be the case for you. And then on the flip side of things, as you mentioned, metagaming on top. But listen, I will say, we are bringing in South America, Latin America, and with the North Americans, so just give us a few months, and we will be able to claim them as our own as well. Just you wait, my friend.
Yeah, some of the changes for, I almost said next year, it's actually this year. 2021's come around pretty quickly, thankfully. And obviously you guys are moving to the Americas now as a global region. Everyone's going to be a few changes. It's nice to see both of the roadmaps for PUBG as a whole. Europe's out there, America's out there. We're starting to see the roadmaps come through and to what's going to be held for not only yourselves, but the players, the fans at home. We all get to see how the things are going to be unfolding, where the next PCSs are going to be, and so on and so forth. So it's nice to see. It's it gives the players something to aspire to. It gives underdogs that want to try and work it up the ranks with the challengers and so on and so forth to be able to try and aspire to be playing at these upper echelons and maybe even playing at a world championship by the time this comes around next year. So all good. A nice start to 2021, especially with 2 months of PUBG back to back. No one can argue with that, no matter which day of the week it is. But it's more focused for us now on these next 4 games ahead. So what we are doing today, if you are just joining us, this is currently the reseeding games. After we have been on camera today, once it's said and done, we have about an hour break, I think, in between. Then we move to the weekly finals. That will be the weekly grand finals. It is Sunday. We'll go across there. So he's going to be taking the big amount of change and bagging some cash by the end of all said and done of today. But for now, it's all about finishing on top. Get on top and you'll be bagging yourself 17th position. Would I normally be saying 17th position would be a good thing? No, not really. But here we are. This is the this is how it works. You got to get yourself up at the top so you can have more chances to play in next week's survival series. 16th spot, you get there, 32nd overall. That's the elimination part. You won't be playing in next week. And unfortunately, this time, it's actually held by Tiamba. And I have to say, Cameron, that is not a team I anticipated seeing in that position.
It's a team that not a lot of people expected to be in the bottom 16, much less 16th place in the bottom 16. The expectations were incredibly high for them coming into this event, and they're not the only team, but so far they really haven't delivered up to expectations. But here in this game, very nice scout by Sonics to spot that a team had actually dove right in front of them. I'm not going to go into that engagement because, yes, survival isn't going to be as important in these games as it is for the weekly survival. You don't necessarily have to win to get anything out of it, but that doesn't mean that you want to just throw your life away, and that's what Indigo is thinking right now. Spots an entire squad of DXG, roll up to his position, so he's going to make the smart decision of his own to just leave and bail, give that one away.
Yeah, Damwon is another team that's certainly been underperforming for the standard that we hold them to. Certainly coming into this, we were kind of setting the storyline through the group stage that this would be a world-beating team. This would be the downfall, or could be the downfall of Gen G. And so far, they have they've failed to impress. There's some talks on Reddit saying, don't worry, they're holding back. This is the whole plan. They're going to play bad now. They're not going to show anyone the strats. They're going to play bad, and then they're going to win it down the line around when we move to groups, weeks 4, 5, and 6, and the big money starts to kick in and take effect. So whether or not that is the game plan, it would be a scary game plan. It would be a scary prospect. It would be a 9,000 IQ play to not show anybody your strats. But here we are. This is what timeline we're in, and whether that's true or not's a different question altogether. I'm hoping we do start to see some serious signs of life from them because they are a team that can perform to that world-class level. We've seen them within their respective region, and we know Korea as a whole is just one of the strongest regions in the world. So to be able to perform at that level and move forward to this one, if they didn't play up to that bar, I think it'd be pretty disappointing because we know again, we came into this competition with very, very high expectations from them. Rotations in abundance for now. Take a quick peek in and check in with the map. Everyone generally just kind of posturing and moving towards the central side of it. Sonic's not going too far from where they landed over by Picardo. Again, with it more, you have that Los Leones road that kind of runs from Los Leones straight through and cuts it in the middle to Monte Nuevo. Everyone else will kind of get a bit of an eye line on that road and maybe take residency. You'll have a few teams that do decide to check in around Chumacera area, and again, for good reason. You have the upper and lower plateau to Chumacera. We've seen a few circles go there, and depending which side of it can kind of dictate where you're going to be ending up at the end of the scoreboard once it's all said and done. But for all now, there's all intents and purposes, Cameron, compared to like yesterday's wild, crazy circles in Yasnaya, there's actually quite a lot of breathing room in here.
Yeah, there's not a lot of action, which is not too surprising considering how central this circle is. It's not dead center. It is still, as everyone can see, just slightly off to the southwest, but that's not enough to really force anyone into a lot of these rotations. Whenever you see a Miramar center circle, generally those are some of the slowest starts because not only does that encompass so much of a lot of teams' loot spots already, but there are so many pathways to get in. The dangers of Miramar is when it cuts off different parts of the map, different entrances, whether it's by water or by the unplayable ridges on the west and the north side. Here, that's not the case. Everyone's going to have to be able to enter from multiple different spots. And you can use a high ground to scout ahead of yourself and just make sure that you're avoiding any trouble that you might be facing.
Troubles that you could be facing is, well, you know, whatever works, right? Quick barrel roll and away we go. Quick beep of, it's fine. This is absolutely fine. It's early morning. the players probably also haven't had as much coffee as what we have just yet. So you know, we can keep going forward with it. It's totally fine. Main points of contacts and main areas. I suppose we'll talk about this circle in a bit of a bigger picture because it is going to be a quiet one. You will get a few little messy engagements like this. Oh, right, see. Everyone's just going to really feel each other out and kind of get the lay of the land to where people will be. It's yeah, we touched on it. It will be one of those more quieter circles for the next one. Maybe a few rotational deaths. I'd be disappointed if there was, just because we generally say, you know, towards the, if you have more players alive, end of the game, blah blah blah, you just get the win forehead and all that stuff. But losing players needlessly can sometimes be quite disappointing and devastating to a team's performance in a match. But yeah, main points of contact, you do have La Bendita to Picado, that huge area, kind of what we saw yesterday, one of the circles where it dips down into the compound, which basically Miraku just went full-blown shotgun and held it down for quite some time. And then, again, Kumisera, in and around it, Cameron, but both from the road to the east of it, to the west of it, to the topside plateau, like, it doesn't necessarily say where Kumisera goes smack bang to where the wording was the map, but everywhere else around that area, it's a take your pick, really.
Yeah, Kumisera is a very interesting area to play around because you can even look at each individual area and it almost plays totally completely different. If you give a location on a map, generally there's going to be a consensus of what that implies, whether it's a city, whether it's incredibly rough terrain, whether it's incredibly smooth open terrain. Kumisera is sort of a mixed bag of basically everything. Sonic's on the move right now. I think they're actually getting pressured by Divine. I keep looking back to and from the map, and I feel like whenever I look away for 20 seconds or so, Divine have been getting further and further towards the center of the circle. They overtook Picado maybe a couple of minutes ago, and now they're pressing even further south, and that, I don't know if that's intentionally forcing Sonics away, or they're just backfilling Sonics after they've left to a better position that they feel. But nonetheless, we'll see how much of an effect that has of either of these teams. DA has just been sitting pretty, as well as TSM watching that sort of footsie game between those two squads, as well as FaZe and Tiambe here. We saw them taking shots earlier, but again, no real engagement. But wait a second, who is that? Is that Uba?
So, I don't know if you caught for it. I wondered if they were going to move away from it, whether or not it's a bait play, or whether or not it's just a readjustment that they actually want to take control of this. They drove all the vehicles away, and then came back to this position. Uber took a much deeper angle onto them to try and encompass them, and all the rest of the players kind of drove away, then came back. So whether or not it was a play for an adjustment, a play for bait, I don't know. They're in a very solidified position, given the circle has now come in. We get a very, very hard shift. We go all the way to the west. Actually, much more so than what we're anticipating. You know, we're kind of predicting between the middle, maybe a little bit more towards the east, but certainly not this far west, which again now puts Kumisera smack bang almost in the middle of it. Metagaming have gone for some of the more priority compounds, so to speak. There's a very, very stronghold or strong point that they've managed to withstand as a 2-2 split. Whether or not going to the position that Meta's in on the 2-2 is going to cost them, because you'll have a lot of teams heading your way now. Remember, it is, and I know it's only Circle 2. I know that, I get that, but still, there is a lot of people alive. Everyone's alive, in fact. And to be holding down a 2-2 when it's such a hard shift away where everyone will be kind of moving towards, they just got to be careful. They've got to be careful. When we check in with Meta, you'll see their position, and it'll give you some more kind of context to what I'm saying here. But for everyone else, we have Furia. They've moved into Kumisera itself. They're in there and quite solidified down now. Only two teams who haven't yet met the circle. This will be Down 1 Kia, followed by Los Leones, and TSM by Power Grid. We'll hold for a moment because, Cammy, we've had our first death of the game.
Yeah. Not much more to say. We all saw the shots. It was an instant down, essentially an instant confirm onto that. Point goes to DA. As I mentioned, they were sort of chilling around just south of the Picado area that Divine had been pressing in from. And I don't know if Divine were just unaware of DA's own relocation, or if they were still just so focused in onto Sonics, because that's where that one Divine player was sort of looking, was sort of moving towards, is where the Sonics was just to the southeast of where DA now currently are. So good pickup, and Divine, they're definitely going to be very disappointed with that and frustrated in having to manage now that they are down a member. Couple of rotations.
Yeah, Navi, you could hear, we're just playing for the audible cue there. Lurking behind FaZe. I don't think FaZe realize this. The problem is that you have T1 in the same rotational path as what Navi's doing. There'll be a 2 versus 4 on one side for Na'Vi, but it also might break into two what Na'Vi was trying to backbuild. You could see there were the low and slow approach onto FaZe Clan. And all of a sudden, Kemba and Besto's like, no, we got to move from this. We have to move all together. We either have to help our teammates out and back them up, or maybe try and, you guys have to come to us and take a fight against T1. So, a couple of little options for Na'Vi have kind of been thrown into the mist here. One side, T1's taken away the main compound due to lack of players, and you've had to reconsolidate yourself on this compound now at the foot of the hill compared to FaZe Clan. And the other one, you still have one player in Senya, I think it was, who was left withstanding and holding it down against FaZe Clan on his own up there.
Yeah, actually, if I'm looking at the map right here where we're watching the rotations between DA and Sonics. Yeah, so FaZe did spot Navi's relocation. They were pushed by T1 to go into this compound, but as I mentioned, Senya, he is just hanging out. He's waiting to see if FaZe overextend onto this. Not necessarily using his team as bait, but also kind of using his team as bait. If FaZe, even if they get a knock and they go aggressive, he could be in a strong position to try and counter back on that, but this circle shift, another hard shift, this time up to the north, is going to pull both of those teams away from that engagement. You can immediately see the tab from Na'Vi rotating up north, and they're not the only ones. You have Kia driving out into the blue, T1 also driving directly up north. This is going to be on the low side of Jumeirah, just on the north of it. It's not totally flat terrain, but it is significantly more scarce, the playable areas, compared to the south side of Circle 2.
Yeah, you'll have a bit of dead space in the middle currently where FaZe are. There's like a dirt track that runs straight across the top side of Jumeirah. The wording of it on the map, where generally we don't see it, it's kind of a lot of a dead area, maybe just a place where people will transition and pass through. So everyone will probably opt to, all the priority compounds have gone at this point. Like at this stage, everyone else has kind of seeded themselves in with it. TSM were coming down on that western embankment from the top past Monte Nuevo. They've actually opted to go back to Monte Nuevo and re-rotate from where they originally came from. Totally fine with that. The problem is, like a few other teams, you will be playing edge here. Same goes for Damwon Kia. I mean, hell, we wouldn't often really see TSM coming out the blue and matching Damwon Kia on the same rotation, but really, edge is all that's going to be left, unfortunately, when they arrive to this. You can try and take as much of the sandbanks as you like. Yeah, there's a positive side to it in the fact that there's only two teams up there, so you're going to be relatively safe, and you can kind of work it with minimal terrain. But for options like this, I mean, hell, look at FaZe. You look onto FuzzFace. You've got E36 one side. We got Detonation Gaming White on the other. It's a bit of a difficult run here, and this is kind of that dead zone, dead area that I really didn't want to see too many people playing. Yes, you'll have options to be able to rotate, but there is nothing. This is just, it's a barren wasteland, and with so many teams opting to try and go for the same kind of idea because, you know, hard cover's sparse, it's going to get messy.
Yeah, I appreciate that FaZe, since they're holding down the center of the circle, still able to find that new location, are trying to spread out and take at least a little bit more control than they would have otherwise, but it's still not going to be much because they don't have that many opportunities with the barren wasteland as we've been talking about. But over here, DXG pushing on a T1. Adder is in his vehicle. He might not be able to get out in time. DXG is going to spot it out, though. And so his presence is keeping DXG from peeking just for a quick moment. It delayed them enough for everyone of T1 to get out. That was looking very, very dicey. DXG, though, are not giving this up, mostly because they have the blue on their back. But, of course, they also want to keep themselves at the top of the scoreboard. Back here towards the center, we saw a little damage traded back and forth. They have to imagine that's a lot of grenades. And there are going to be some returned out from Uba. But DGW really want this push.
The damage has been done. The follow-up nade is good. Another player is extremely low off the back of that. But, again, FaZe has to be on full red alert. The fact that you have E36 on your back every time you overstep the boundaries. Oh! You will be getting punished. And speaking of punishment, here comes the molly from Itzy, a man who can when it comes to throwables. Up and over we go. Does it find its target? Flashbang's there to follow up as well. I like the preemptive play, but again, the same scenario continuously falls. Every time they enter the fight and enter the fray versus DGW, you are always going to have E36 continuously trying to get that pick, trying to get that opener. Basically just trying to find any kind of entry frag that you can. T1 has found Furia. Remember, Furia have been here for quite some time, just lurking in the distance. DA just drive by, they're like, oh boys, we found 2 teams either side of it. 3 teams make it because of Meta's position as well. DXG just, that's the 3rd person off the back of the bike. The 3rd person that's been knocked for DXG. I have no idea really what's going on in the back there, but it's complete and utter carnage. The fight continues. T1 versus Furia. All of a sudden, FaZe Clan, they finally eliminate DGW. Detonation's down. Pero will continue on to TSM side. And again, this is a lot of fights that are continuously backbuilding on the edge of the circles. The only real damage that's kind of been done on the side of anything outside of it, it's that weird and wonderful fight back on Kumasera where you've got Furia still going up against T1, or at least I think it may just be 1 player left.
It's chaos no matter what it is, and all these teams in Kumasera, they can't stay here for long because the blue is pushing in. We just saw all that carnage in the kill feed because of the rotations. But Long K, all of DXG have been picked up, is able to find Rusty Zero, so yes, it is only 1. Make that 0 members of Furia remaining. Rasputin is found by Adder. And so all these teams that are being pushed up from the south, well, there's getting fewer and fewer of them. And T1, they have to heal up and get on the move because DXG are just about to crest over the horizon. Few vehicles on their end. So they have to manage the blue as a significantly bigger threat. NBK is able to find a bike. Don't know if that was dropped up from another team where he just happens to find it stored in a garage somewhere. But rotation is going to be difficult of the teams that aren't already in this circle because of how little area there is to play around with.
TSM has just been clipped at the heels while it's trying to evacuate its previous scenario. Sonic's got one of those down. Long K with the nades following up onto T1 just to try and find any kind of entry frag. Damage is done in the vehicle. Get the hell out of there. The tires are looking devastating. The bombardment will continue. Star-Lord is out on a limb here. It's not looking good for T1. They're down in 14th position. But out of the frying pan and directly into the fire. That's a banger of a headshot at this distance as well from Code Marco. But ultimately, it is Division X that do go down. The blue will finally finish them off. And I'm not really sure what happened with the vehicles earlier on, but in that kill feed, I think it was at least 3 people that went off the back of it, whether a vehicle flipped, whether someone hit a tire. I do not know. K7 Meta Gaming, your 2 priority compounds, a circle almost identical yesterday, at least very similar to what we saw, and they basically now become entrenched in their little fortresses and kings of the castle. Everybody else around them has to do the work because of how the elevation works its way towards those compounds. This becomes very difficult for everybody else who's outside in the limb, and more importantly, outside of the next circle.
Again, just shots, grenades, utility being thrown back and forth, and for these teams on the southeast side, I really do wonder how much they have to utilize. Good shots from Uba at the end to finish off Tampa as they go out in 12th place, but E36, they know that there's still a threat. Fuzzface does get knocked. 8C, you see the smoke already deployed to try and get a revive and stay 4 up. But E36 is going to try their hardest to keep that from happening. The grenade goes too far to finish Fuzzface, and not far enough to take out 8C.
So E36 has kind of really been holding its ground here, and it knows that the ground that it does hold it's limited. Pure Boy is disconnected from the rest of the team ever so slightly. He's holding down a compound to make so no one can basically just backbuild onto E36. It's a very precarious line that they are holding, but if they do it, they keep back FaZe Clan, they keep back Petrichor Road, hell, they even keep DA in check to some lesser extent. FaZe has finally opened up onto Na'Vi. Enter Force 36. No rest for the wicked. Challenges in abundance. LG Divine has now stepped up to play to try and break this barricade and fortification that they've got going. Besto's like, I need to try and get out of here, boys, but unfortunately it's not having it. Kale comes in with a headshot, knocks him out of the vehicle. Nades over on the feet of Shrimsy. 1-2, thank you. 3rd person lurking in the mist. Mime. Anything else left in the tank, my dude? Because there's 2 people bearing down upon you with Ike's left around the corner as well. It's getting very, very dangerous for Sonics.
Luckily, DA is here to at least alleviate a little bit of pressure. And if there's one player that I'd trust the most of Sonics to try and clutch it out as a solo, it is going to be Mime. But that pressure from DA, as I mentioned, does pull Petrichor Road off of that engagement back here on the southeast side. It is still a big entanglement. E36, while they're able to get that first kill that we saw onto Divine, have not kept the entire squad from continuing that approach. They're down to 2, just Turtle and Levi's. And FaZe Clan is also still in the mix here.
Sonic's down in 10th. 9 kills for FaZe as well. I mean, hell, even if they don't get up into that top 5 kind of area, if they can put double-digit points on when it comes to frags, and of course, they should be able to do this. With 1 man left. Yeah, that's 2 of them. Turtle comes out, gets put right back in his shell. Gustav puts him in the grave. Now they have to continue the fight that has been, or an enemy, I shall say, that has been a real nuisance to them for a good substantial 10 minutes of the game. E36 has continuously been on their back. I think FaZe lost Fuzzface earlier on with that nade that did go down. Speaking of going down, TSM is finally found. Smash puts Miraku in the ground, and out they go in 8th position. So Pureboy still... He's still away from the rest of the team, but then again, Sylphia has moved over here to at least kind of back him up. And again, it's always to keep Petrichor Road from hitting E36 behind. I like the idea. Continuously have somebody just to keep the back pressure away so you can focus on the problems at hand, which unfortunately for E36 is FaZe Clan, and that's not a good problem to have.
Does look like both of those teams are separating from each other. I think it's because if they were to try and force a fight, they'd be just taking pot shots from meta the entire time we've been sitting pretty in the circle for the past couple of phases. DA now again farming kills. They have 6, and they got yet another knock, but Mark goes down to Sato. A little bit of a mismanagement of their own spacing as FaZe down here pushing towards the south of their own. 11 kills for them. HC does go down, but Gustav's in a strong position to get a revive if more utility doesn't come their way. Or I say utility, the entirety of Damwon Kia is on the push.
Yeah, Gustav is going to have to do some serious work here. First player steps up to it, second player behind on the back of the buggy. Was extremely weak if he can get this frag. He doesn't realize he's just outnumbered. This is just insanity. And it comes to Uber to try and hold the line, but he's mopping up big time. All the work that Gustav did onto Damwon Kia can now be collected by FaZe. And hell, even if they go out now, what a valiant attempt this has been from FaZe for working with nothing, absolute minuscule ground to be able to put 12 frags on the board. If he gets this nade, this will be absolutely phenomenal. It's coming in, it's just fallen short, but he has the high ground. He has a little bit of time, but no more lethal utility in the bag, so he has to rely on his own individual skills. And well, if there's a man who can, it's going to be Uber. Banging nade from Zenan. Takes out 2 from the side of E36. Uber just spraying through the smokes. Can he get the second? He's already got 1. This is a phenomenal job just to kind of hold them down. And again, he's just playing for these frags because as a one-man band, there's not too much you can do when meta is so solidified in the castle. So you might as well try and pick up points in other places.
It's not just meta, it's also K7 who have their own little line of sight, and that alone is limiting where Uba can go. He wants to find this clutch. He wants to get revenge for the rest of his team. Under, though, has gotten closer towards the center than he has, but I don't know if he'll be expecting this approach from behind him. K7 also in the middle of a fight, and E36 Pureboy. Or actually, no, Amanat is able to get the nice knock and get Saber. That's 2 down as Pureboy's kill onto Zendan has gotten confirmed. So K7, no longer in control of the compound. This circle has centered up on Meta, who have continuously been sitting pretty, as well as Ubab taking FaZe into the top 4 with that kill onto Under. Still a solo, but he has more opportunities now.
It's kind of crazy. They've got more points in one game from frags alone than what 4 teams in the last 5 games have done. Like that kind of speaks volumes to what level we are going to be playing at. Lockslop gets the drop onto Amanot. We'll be able to solidify that one and keep at least 3 players in for K7, but it would take a monumental muck-up, I want to say, when it comes to the side of meta to be able to lose this one. Right now, they won't, or they shouldn't have used really much utility. No one's pushed this compound. No one's YOLO pushed it onto them. They only have 1 kill, and that's fine. You know, it should be picking up 10 once it's all said and done. But it's one of those moments, Cammy, where I kind of say, okay, well, we absolutely cannot see any stupid mistakes now. You have played this circle. You have had this compound. You've not gone out. You've not fragged. You've not picked up points in that one. You absolutely must get this win. Otherwise, that's sitting in the compound and waiting for everyone to come to you. It's been for naught.
Been all for nothing. You're relying on those 10 points for a win, not 6 points for a second. That's disappointing in comparison. You hear the refrain, you have to win the games that you're supposed to win, and that's what Meta are dealing with right now. But Booyah, his send, he's made it into the building with 1 HP. Oh, there it is. Sparking is there with the recovery, with the utility, and Silson with the follow-up knock. Make that a third. Take out K7. It's actually Uba to finish off K7. That's a 14th kill. But can he go up against the entirety of Meta by himself?
It's kind of a scary prospect, really. Just
it is, yeah.
Uber, the last person for FaZe, but Silson's already here. And really, you don't want to be feeding this man many points, but they are taking him from 2 different angles, which is good. It's a simultaneous push. He's got one down low and one up high. Okay, buddy. Send all 4 people to take out Uber. I'm totally fine with that. I mean, hell, if I was playing up against him, I'd want my entire team to be able to take him at hand as well to get him and get rid of it. But it's job done. Meta Gaming. They pick up, I believe it's 12 points, 13 in total, something ridiculous like that, but still a good, solid win. That's what they want on the board. They were top of the charts when we came into this, Cameron, and they stay their feet for now.
Yeah, I don't think I'm insulting anyone by saying that they didn't have to work too hard, and that is going to be reflected in the fact that they only got 14 points for that game compared to other teams that go up to 16, 20, 30 points sometimes at the upper level of things with those wins. But FaZe, on the other hand, what a performance by them. Very disappointed in their own games during the weekly survival. And then even yesterday, while they might have looked a little bit better, they were still not the FaZe that we were expecting. This is a FaZe that everyone knows and loves. And for Meta to confirm that win is very, very strong. But I do also agree with your point, seeing that it's Uba remaining. I'm sure that in the, in the back of their head, they're probably worried just a little bit, like, wait, let's take this slow. Let's not throw this away. This was our opportunity to win, and they're able to succeed.
Well, FaZe have had a 4th, a 3rd, and now a 2nd, so I'm assuming that chicken dinner, that first, is looming somewhere in the distance, but certainly with a hell of an amount of points when it comes to fragging prowess, it'll send them flying up the leaderboard, but Meta will be staying there for now. That's enough from myself and Cameron. I'm going to pass it back to the gentleman on the desk to break that game down a little bit more.
Toot toot, the hype train is boarding, the bandwagon is leaving the station. Meta Gaming with another big win, and that is now 40 points that they have collected on Miramar alone in 3 games. That is absolutely insane stuff. Obviously, they get a little bit of compound love there, Avenger, but I'm not going to give you Meta. I'm going to give you FaZe. I'm going to give you Uba because I know you're going to want to talk about those boys.
I don't know. You can throw me anything here. Yeah, it doesn't require a PhD to look at me.
It does not. It does not.
And hear that this game was a good game for them, obviously. No, but a good run from FaZeland. They actually played it super well. We obviously talked about it here. 20 points for them as well. 14 kills. Quite impressive. Also being able to stay on the south side, sweep. Only being 1 guy alive in the end there obviously made it somewhat impossible for Uber to make something happen, but a super good run from them. Started to play on the kind of area around Chimisera and the high grounds of there. They usually like to play that and play in that area in general, and they can leapfrog into a really good spot from there. Nearly 2,000 damage for them as well. Only 600 from Meta, expected in a situation where they're in a crater compound where they basically can't shoot anyone. 18 Uber and 6 and 5 kills, super impressive.
Absolutely tough stuff there as well for a lot of these teams to deal with. Godspeed. We were talking about not just the presence, but it seems like the constant, almost, what am I trying to say here? It's inevitability of these hard shifts coming in, these hard south, hard west, hard north, and FaZe in the end they're coming out on top after having a great rotation from that southern side and those little cliff sides overlooking Chubasera. How did they do it? How did they manage to make their way through all of that nonsense and still come out on top?
I mean, it's super easy, man. But pretty much on top. I mean, they came up on top of that lobby for that game, right? They just won their fights. Honestly, like FaZe was never really in like an incredibly strong position where they could just kind of rest on the laurels. They had to fight through multiple teams. They did. They wiped multiple teams, and even when they finally came up against Damwon at the end there, Uba was able to clean up ultimately and survive all the way to second, and even got a kill on K7 as they came in on meta. So I mean, this is the phase that we know. I mean, we talk about it all the time, but they're slow to start. We talked about it even yesterday, but they will have their big games, and I mean, this is the start of it, right? They had a 20-point game on 14 kills, so FaZe is never out of the fight, man. You can't count them out.
Let's take a look at our overall standings now. Pretty sure that Meta will still be sitting up there. Oh, there was our schedule. We got Meta with the first game win. We got 3 more games today. 1 more on a Miramar to go before 2 more on Erangel. But Martin, I want to touch real quick. Okay, so we talk about Meta, we talked about FaZe, obviously 2 fantastic performances from those 2. But K7 had a fantastic game as well, playing from what I guess we were calling the Rumblers compound. But they didn't just rest on their laurels up there, did they?
No, they managed to play super well, staying up there for some time and also flexing out in some of the areas to get some of the kills on the east side rather than just staying passive. They waited until the very last time where they had to get out of the compound and where they had to breach Meta, which is a super hard compound to breach as well, because it's quite easy to get shot from where they're sitting. So they managed to get as much out of the game as possible here and putting them up into a really decent spot. Obviously, standings matter a lot here. You want to try to get as much as possible. The more placement you get, I mean, from 9th and up to 5th, it's 13 points, and that gives you 5 more games to play. So it's super important to try to get as many points out of every game you can here with only 3 more games to go.
Godspeed. I'm going to ask you one more time, Tiamba now. 0 points again, still sitting on 6. How shocking would it be to now see if Tiamba finds themselves at the bottom there? That would be twice in 3 weeks that we've had a Chinese team at the very bottom. How shocking would that be to you?
I mean, pretty shocking, but at the same time, I don't know. Tiamba's been riding the struggle bus, man. I don't know what's been going on with him. Their issues seem to be mainly just in rotating into later circles. That's kind of where they've fell apart. I feel like their team fight is okay as long as they can just get in with at least 3 or 4. That'd be good. But the problem is they're just losing members on rotation and just getting flat out wiped. So I really hope Tiamba doesn't fall again, but I mean we'll have to see.
Mr. Avenger, what do you think is the best way for some of these teams to start coping with some of these hardships that we're seeing? I know we've got a lot of new viewers in the audience, and you know we've seen so many of these hardships and how big of an impact they have. What is a good way for people to kind of cope with that in a way that they can take into their own games?
Well, so first of all, the density of players we have in this is obviously far higher than you have in your normal game. So what we see the pro players often send, like when they're full sended, is because that they know there's no more places to play. But if you often see a lot of hardship, if it's in the beginning of the game, you can often take a car and do a long rotate, get on the other side of the circle instead of trying to play on the kind of next edge, because the center of the last circle is often on the edge if it's a hardship. So check a car, try to go on a long rotate. I often see that from the pro teams as well.
Long rotations, patience, and vision is the key, boys and girls. But we are ready to head it into game number 2, our final match here on Miramar. We'll see if the kings of Miramar so far, Meta, can keep their reign going. We're going to throw it now over to the Sims and Mr. Cameron Davis. Boys, take it away.
Thank you, gentlemen. Yes, indeed. Match number 2, day number 2, rock and roll. The last game of Miramar these teams will see for this portion of the bottom 16. Metagaming, you saw previously, finally got the win after 2 second places yesterday on Miramar. They do secure that top spot. And more importantly, the bigger kind of benefactor, well, there's 2 really benefactors from that last map. You've got, obviously, Meta starting to get this big buffer at the top of the table. FaZe Clan jumping quite a substantial amount of points and now sit themselves in 3rd. But for Meta, it's kind of backed up by the fact that Sonic's Cammy, a 10th position and only 1 frag point, it creates an even bigger gap between them and their 2nd place team at the top of the table. Think you could be muted, Cam. Think you could be muted. Because I'm not getting your voice.
Yep, I am.
Okay.
Yep, I am.
Okay.
Yes, I am. That's on me. That's on me.
Yep.
That's on me. Good catch. Good call. See, this is the synergy that we're looking for here. No, but yeah. So that gap there, with only 3 games remaining, they would have to be a completely disastrous 3 games in a row for Meta to fall out of let's say the top 3, much less even first place right now. So they should be incredibly comfortable to have close to, if not the most amount of games possible, no matter what happens. Unless, as I said, it's a complete throw. And a shift like this, considering they're looting up an Opozo, it might not be Na'Vi levels north, but this might not be the best Miramar game for them to end the weekend off, but of course we're going to have to see.
Yeah, a circle like this, it encompasses a tiny little bit of water down to the south, a bit more southern than what we've been seeing, but certainly still with Commissary, I mean, we could still see a few little movements and a few little shifts that a bank is on almost an identical area. It's kind of bizarre we've seen with some of these matches this week. It either goes from being complete chaos and circles that we've very rarely see, or certainly are a bit of a new one because of how the sizes and ships and times and everything else that's working with the new settings. Or it seems to get kind of, you know, quite similar to Yasnaya's 2 southern paths today. It's yeah, we'll kind of see how it goes forward and see where the shifts go. Again, with 2 hard shifts in the previous round, we could have something identical with something completely different whatsoever. But what we do know is we'll at least be down that southern embankment. And for now, I suppose for me, if I need to pull a team out the bag here, Cam, I'd say Furia, given the fact that you have an almost central position on this one. You only have 4 teams in that circle with you. You have a good amount of time to get to a prime spot, get to a prime bit of territory, maybe take a 2-2 split. Hold on.
Hello.
Hold
How?
on. What's going on here?
DXG just running out in the open field like this? I know it's the early game. This isn't like a phase 6 field surrounded by 5 teams position, but this is still something must have happened in the early game. DXG must have not found a single vehicle where they dropped, and this might have been like an unavoidable situation, but this is terrible. They already had a pretty not great game last time around, and they lose even 2 players here. It's gonna be bad. Luckily there's a Winchester on the opposing side, but that's still not the same as a Mini 14.
Yeah, I saw the win in. I've seen Fergus say him for quite some time. Like, please, it's one of those where you're shooting at someone, you just hear that one Winchester bang, and all of a sudden you're down. You're like, nope, he's done me. He's absolutely done me. Bigger kind of more devastating thing for these guys. It's all right running through a field, not like it's devastating on its own, but 2 other things. 1, they're lacking armor. 2, look at LG Divine's position. They've wrapped around them to try and bottleneck them. The 2 other players from LG Divine on the opposing side waiting here with open arms. But you've got to land these shots. All the players are very weak. I mean, 3 of them are sub 50% HP, so this should be, in my opinion, this should absolutely be a squad wipe. I get it. You've committed to the cause here. They're all weakened. They're all in a very precarious position. No, they're getting okay. They're in the vehicles. They're bailing on it. Please don't lose any players now, because if you lose any players now, that's when it's kind of embarrassing, because you're going to be just going up against these guys that are working with absolutely nothing. But another thing to this, Cam, it's a fight in an area that, like, LG Divine is committing to the cause here, but everyone else is going to be rotating, and you're stuck away from the circle.
I mean, I wasn't necessarily expecting an entire squad wipe onto DXG, but Divine have done surprisingly little damage. They haven't gotten a single knock, and sure, these shots by Levis, they're not the easiest to hit. They weren't the easiest to hit when they were trying to cross that field as well, but JN just previously with that suppressed Mini 13, that should have been a free knock there. And so the fact that that not a single knock happened, DXG were able to keep that push on, which that close range 4 versus 2, you don't want to keep that, which is why JN and Turtle retreated away from this. You can see him getting back into the vehicle to run away. Luckily, though, I love this heads-up play. They removed the tires from the vehicles that were around the area, because even if they weren't able to get a kill or even a squad wipe onto Division X Gaming, they're at least able to grief them further.
Something, Tempo Storm, something. Back in the day, that's an old school 2018 meme. Len Shun onto Starlord. That's a big F for T1. Honestly, like, I feel sorry for him. I really do, because they just can't seem to catch your breath. But look, in this game, I think you build your own luck. You make your own game at the end of the day, and same goes kind of for Tiamba. We had high hopes of this roster, and so far it has absolutely just failed to deliver on all prospects of the game. Down in 16th again, 7 points across 5 maps is just absolutely not gonna cut it. When you look at this, when it's all said and done, you've got Meta on 60, Tiamba on 7. It's not just like it's middle of the pack, it's a complete night and day scenario. It is fundamentally something is going wrong with Tiamba, whether that's them just being nervous at this global level, whether that's just being more confident within their respective region, I do not know. But they kind of look like a broken roster at the moment. We'll see, and I still kind of stand by this. Same goes for T1. However, you speak to Clinton, and he'll give you his honest opinion of T1, and there's probably no better man to be able to cover T1 and what goes on with it than Clinton, given the Korean region now. Well, he knows these teams, but we can only say for so long, Cameron, that there's a comeback mechanic in this competition. Yeah, things can get better as we go down the line. There is that point where you just say, no, you're having a bad event, and you've just got to, like, it is what it is.
Yeah, luckily, I think when people talk about that comeback, it's the fact of how long the event is. Obviously, if this was a situation where the comeback would be like the week after, a team can't necessarily climb back from playing terribly in a week, but a team could technically climb back from playing terribly a month. And so I think we are getting to the point where expectations need to stop. Regarding T1 specifically, though, I'll be honest, I didn't have many expectations for them coming into this event anyway. I think their performance at the first couple of games was the shock, but now they're back to the expected level. They've sort of been treading water a lot throughout their own PCS performances. They got second place on PCS 2, I think, or maybe it was third place, but outside of that, they haven't been performing nearly to the level that their roster should be, given the names, given their previous performances, given their skill level. Tiamba is the one that is a complete divergence from expectations coming into this event, because they had been placing top 4, I believe, all 3 PCS Asias. And so that's the one that I have really big question marks about.
AWN in play. 20 bullets for that bad boy. Sticker 6 times on and away we go. So we'll hopefully hear the beautiful, sweet song of the Green Machine ringing loud in the kill feed in the map sometime soon. E36 not in the worst spot to be able to put that to good use also. Bit of a nice old split. Fury kind of centralized a tiny little bit, and they just kind of moved more towards the hillside and out of the actual main complex of Chumasira itself. Sonics is there, DA's there, TSM's there. You've got a lot of teams all just on the road that's kind of south of Los Leones and Monte Nuevo. Everyone's kind of going towards that side and taking the compounds of residency, hoping that eventually it will pull away from, well, we know eventually it will pull away from water, but hoping that we get a bit more of a northern shift earlier, which will then just give that main focus on the central area, on that main head of compounds. Again, I'm not expecting too dissimilar from the previous circle, unless we get that wild eastern shift. If the eastern shift comes in and we're still touching Los Leones by circle 2, I think we're in for some fun then.
Ooh, yeah, circle 3. Imagine if this circle ends up dead center in Los Leones at the ending. That, I think, would catch almost every single team off guard here. FaZe, though, like most of the teams in the area that you had listed off, were in very, very similar positions. Some of them the exact same position that we saw the previous game, because of how similar these circles are. And for FaZe Clan, that means being on the top of the mountain, having eyesight over a lot of different players. When the AWM got picked up by E36, we actually heard a tire pop on that vehicle for retreat, and that was from, I believe, Gustav of FaZe. And now we just saw them taking some shots at Na'Vi, but where's the next circle going to go? Are we getting a hard shift towards the north? It's a medium shift towards the northeast, so that's not going to be messing with too many different teams, but especially DA, Sonics, Divine, and TSM are going to be most happy with this one.
Yeah, and the Green Machine's in the kill feed. There we go. Tickleton, unfortunately, his brains have just been removed. So whether or not that's actually going to play a benefactor to them being slowed down, the tap fire is already there, so I don't think he'll be able to go any further. I was wondering if the recovery was possible. Clean-up crew, TSM just pull up on the drive-by. Damage has been done. Tickleton has indeed been removed from play. Sylphia finds him again with the follow-up. LG Divine, dire straits, and maybe now they are being punished for the very late play earlier on. The vehicle's on top of him, and he's alive. What? Can he get out from there? Can he crawl backwards?
I think he is stuck, but he's not far from the center of the circle. There's a chance that he might be there for quite a while, so let's put a pin in that. We can come visit that every circle or so. That is assuming that no one is aware of it and underhands a little frag grenade under there. But no, that's actually, honestly, not a bad fortification.
If I was my guy, you, and I'd literally just pop all the tires and just sit here and say, right, this is now where I stay. This is me. This is now my life for this circle. I am one with the car, and the fact that he's not healing up Cameron suggests that maybe he doesn't have the. Okay, there we go. I'm seeing the tick up now.
Bandaging, I think.
Yeah. Oh no, he's been spotted.
Wait,
yeah,
what was
that was
Oh,
that
no.
was a foot shot. He has been seen, and it looks like he's actually managed to get out of the car. The smokes are there. Iris sees it. Yeah, you're not gonna. Iris is a man who can pick a pixel at God knows how many distance. So yeah, that's gonna be a knock. Not the flush, but no one else can really get the revive on that. I wouldn't anticipate LG goes up towards that. Speaking of up towards, we move over to one of the priority compounds that within PEL and our respective PCS EU region, FaZe Clan. This is one of their strong positions that they like to hold and they like to try and fortify. However, they do have enemies at the gates. Necro spots one. It looks like FaZe are going to go for the resuscitation at the back. The smokes are being committed. Ah, okay, this makes sense now. Why Fury is not pushing it? It's because they're being stayed by their feet with Tiamba in the distance.
That's actually doing a lot to help FaZe out. But will they be aware of Necro? They did spot him when they originally tried to approach that building. But do they know that he is still going to be there? A couple of grenades come in. That's going to give his position away 100%. And so FaZe need to be very, very conscious of where all the windows are. They're quite big, which means that a number of angles could be spotting into. They need to be constantly on the lookout. That was a team grenade.
Teammate. Yeah. I think it was. I turning around saying, "My dude, no, don't throw a nade at me. Throw it up." Yeah, we'll go with that one, and maybe this could be the ghost signal for Necro at the floor. If they can certainly find another one, it would be more beneficial. Gustav has been damaged. One down low as well, so up top. Damage on both sides of it, one through the window, and then 8C is actually in the same room, so maybe now they can make some sort of advancement in this, but they have to sweep and clear as a team. They can't really be leaving anybody behind because of the amount of damage that will come back from FaZe Clan. They will be able to put up a damn good fight, should they have players on their feet. And again, you can see the team tag coming in the bottom corner. It's actually Sonics who have an eye line on this one, so if Fury want to clean out FaZe, they have to be quick because there are multiple eyes from multiple different angles fixated on this compound as a prime position for the next circle.
Spotted. I think both players spotted each other with that peek from Gustav. It's a revive on the upstairs player, but it's still 8C bleeding out. Now Smokes is stopping Furier's push, but they would make their way inside the building, and FaZe are still not comfortable here. He's going for the revive. Thinks he'll be able to pull it off. That grenade didn't land where, I'm assuming Furier threw that. It didn't land where they had wanted to, and so FaZe still up as a full 4-man. Missing a little bit of armor and helmet, still a big afro. Peeking out towards the sky, taking up a lot of space on our screen. But Furia backing off. They're leaving.
That's because another team's turned up to the party. We did say that a lot of teams have an eye line into this one and maybe want to get involved at center of the circle, and why the hell not? K7 are fully committing to the cause. I can see all the rest of the team are going to be pulling up to this. So 2 teams in one compound and K7 in the other. Oh, this is going to get super, super messy. I'd anticipate a few will just... In fact, all of Fury here. I didn't realize it all on it. To kind of back up what you said now, they've opted to disengage to the 3rd building. So a team in every single building, and 1, 2, 3, 4 teams looking down on it. So yeah, this is basically now where they stay.
It's not just a double booking; it's a triple booking at the Airbnb. And the owner cannot be reached on speed dial. It is up to these 3 potential tenants to try and figure it out amongst themselves. I think they are all resorting to violence. Yeah.
Oh my word. Yeah, it's going to be a bit of a share-a-thon, especially with, and again, I think because it's so central, there are a few of the teams that might just accidentally fully send it, and you'd have to guess that people see the vehicles outside and think, you know what, this hotel's booked. Let's move elsewhere. Under might actually be tagged from under. Did see, I think it was Shrimsy also going down in the kill feed a couple of minutes ago with the AWM. Nice little lean from Dang Che. Job done. Is Damwon going to commit to this? For me, it would be deadly to do so. He's trying to take it wide, hit the road. Does he swing in here? There's a few teams now and again that they just like to kind of swing back on themselves and try and catch teams off guard. But I think ultimately, given the blues here, there's absolutely no reason to do that. Follow the road. Hope for the best. The only kind of worrying stance is that if they do follow that dirt road up, it'll be the highway to hell, because you do have Tiamba just sitting at the top of that dirt track.
Yeah. We'll see what happens. Zengche is able to relocate with the rest of T1. I'm unsure of how familiar they are with Detonation Gaming White in this position. Where's the next one going to go? Yep, of course, of course. What? Why not? Why not? It is hard. Every single game, I feel like it is hardship. We just heard those analysts talk about at the top of the show that the Circle has been acting weird and the Circle acts different basically every single patch. Unsure of whether it has to do with an algorithmic change or just a setting causing an effect of it somehow. But I feel like these teams are expecting hardships at this point, and this one's going to work well in the favor of TSM, Petrichor Road, and the Sonics. Everyone else on the south side, looking at Tiamba, looking at Meta, they're all going to be having to move, including those 3 teams in those apartment buildings.
I really want to quickly point out, Cammy, how smart K7 is. The second that popped, all of them just bailed it to all of their vehicles and have booked it completely out of that complex altogether. They are now gone. They have left FaZe and Furia to kind of do their own thing. Is it going to be difficult to get into this circle? Absolutely. I'm not going to take anything away from that, but they've given themselves the best chance, the best opportunity to try and make something forward. Metagaming eliminated in 16th from 0 to 0 in a blink of an eye, so that might now open the scoreboard up for a few other people to be able to try and chase that one. Ira, 2 players down. It's going to be IQ 500, excuse me, 1. LG Divine goes down. I think that was Martin's pick, I do believe. Rather unfortunate in 15 spot. Chow. The T1 also. So, a couple of rotational frags coming through. Down one's in the distance onto the old complex port that we've been speaking about continuously. And I think it'll be certainly an eye line for a lot of teams to maybe try and transition through. K7's on the hill as well, so this could be a bit of a dungeon run and a bit of a bottleneck if they decide to take the main road through this. Machao finally goes down to a nade from the side of T1. Tiamba and DA elsewhere on the map, still holding each other at gunpoint, not really doing much. Sonics, middle of the map, unfortunately losing Tiggleton earlier on, but do have a very fortified compound. And more importantly, that compound is on top of a hill, so it's extremely hard to breach. You can only really take it from one side. Rusty Zero at distance. That's only going to help FaZe Clan out, actually, thinking about it.
Look at this fight right now. T1 is now overlooking Detonation Gaming, and the grenades are raining down. Zengche is not trying to overextend, but because he wasn't able to get that knock, Z's is now pushing up. He's flashing through. He's forcing T1 away at least a little bit. Both these teams are wounded. I believe it's a 2 versus 2, which means that this opening knock is going to be important. I don't know if that player on the low side of Malofo is going to be able to climb up. I lied. He's pushing up by himself for free. Gets one. Can't get the second.
4-5 in with the cleanup. Takes them both down. Job done. Detonation Gaming go down. T1's eliminated also. DA have picked up a frag of their own from that mess altogether. Shrimsy still onto FaZe Clan. They have just been peppering players in abundance. And again, it all kind of speaks a bigger volume to the elevation, the height advantage that Sonics will be holding from this compound themselves. They have had a few knocks onto the side of E36 now. Another thing that did come through, I believe, a second crate may have come in for E36 during all this chaos, so I'd anticipate that 2 of their players are going to be geared up to the 9s, and we know already there is an AWM lurking amongst that roster, but now the circle is unfavorable to them. Now they have to try and put all that utility and all that gear to good use. Furia is slowly but surely just been kind of worked on by FaZe Clan. Remember, FaZe would have had 4 alive had Sonics not been able to take one player away from them, but here we are. Tiamba is repositioning in the distance. You can see them all just flying by on the observer mode. They're just trying to find a place to call home, and ultimately it might be at the ditches just below Sonics or central map, something like that. Shrimsy has gone down. That'll kind of get a bit of pressure relieved on that rotation for Tiamba for all but a moment. E36 is... Wait, did I just catch 2 AWMs there? I may have... I think it was just flicked on and off as they changed the weapon through and cycle, but there could be 2 AWMs on the side of E36.
Ooh, back here on the fight between FaZe and Furia. I like the extension of Furia trying to leave one out instead of that crossfire, but unfortunately, FaZe do not go down that easily. Maybe the FaZe during this week, but after the previous game, they are now back on fire, and they are the monster that we know them all to be. That's going to be a scary hold for anyone to deploy against. They're going to go down. FaZe still 3 up as they push into the circle. Over here, we can see Sonics, as you mentioned, holding the Church of Saint Los HD. holding it down with 3. E36 approaching, Na'Vi just past that, and that could be enough of a distraction to allow Sonics. Yep, there it is. The grenades are actually being thrown from both sides on the E36's position.
It's a really smart wait from Na'Vi. They look forward to B36 and let them take this first ditch and then just kind of centralize behind them. That would have been a good pre-nade drive-by job done by E36. Now, if Na'Vi can just grab all this gear that's on the floor, again, you're going to have level 3 gear in abundance. And maybe some big boy guns to boot as well to try and tackle this church scenario. I've seen multiple knocks on the side of Sonics, but if they advance this pressure, that is a banging nade. How are you going to get the revive? He's going to stick it. He's going to stick it with no HP. Oh, my word. H-Win's playing medic here. He's got the field kit out. He's going for it. He needs to get him back on his feet. Bandages, my dude. Get on your feet and get the hell inside because we have enemies at the gates. And while all this was going on, FaZe Clan have snuck in. That's
huge.
cheeky. That is so cheeky. But look. Go on.
Navi's pressure, Navi's distraction allowed FaZe to actually get up there. FaZe were not unknown to Sonics. They got multiple picks on them, not only when they were in that compound, but also trying to push up from it. But do they know Gustav is in? Well, they're certainly going to know now. Shrimp's going to be thinking, wait a second, that's not my gun shooting.
The smart play there out of everything was just Na'Vi letting E36 take the mantle first and essentially die because it's so hard to get there given still. Sonic's elevation, like we can't take away from it enough how good this church can be with these type of circles when it's a central kind of area towards everyone else and everyone else has to play around you. So they let E36 go forward first. Sonic's focus towards them. It then distracts them away from like Na'Vi being shot at because if you were to try and tackle Sonics from that thing, again, high ground, high advantage, it's going to be difficult. They let E36 go down. They take them out. They then turn and face the next problem that's in front of them. More importantly, they can survive. They can survive as a full 4-man stack. They also have vehicles. I don't think they anticipated, though, Cammy, a fortification coming through from Petrichor Road. It's a very unorthodox place to find 4 players out in the open rather than driving around. Everything that Na'Vi has just been trying to do has been tossed out the window.
What a disastrous run by them. I don't know. You can't scout below that hill from their position. It really was just a blind send. And I don't know if it was a risk they're willing to take or they thought they had some information, but the vehicle goes up. That's another kill down for Tianba. Sungjan goes down. Kia are out in 7th place. Tianba still in this. They've hit double digits in points for the weekend, and they're in a solid position to get even more.
I'm really sorry. I did miss it as well, seeing Gustav go down. Like, he's been removed from the bell tower, so that still allows Sonic to at least keep that. Yeah, I mean, Itzy does have it's a good position. It's a little bit in the middle of all the mix, but it is very low. That tiny little ditch that he has, it's basically a trench. It's prone to getting naded, so you can't really be sending a full squad of 4 down there. But where he is now, like, yeah, just kind of lay down and hope for dear life that Sonics don't keep sending it over this side, because if they do, he could be the next point of contact. The positive side for Sonics, at least they have vehicles, so they can just kind of send it for now if there is somewhere they want to try and take contact from. And I think they'll probably go for the same position that Itzy's actually in, just given that really this is all that... Trimsy! He's done him! He has absolutely done him!
I mean, Itzy should have had the advantage there. Shrimsy got lit up down to about 40% HP from Tianba on the send, but he's still able to land the shots in time. And that vehicle, even though it went past that dip's position, he was safe at least for a while. He does get taken out by Code Marco. It's just Mime will have to try and take his own vehicle sent down, but wants to go for the revive, and, well, there he goes. It's fully confirmed by DA. In this circle, another shift towards the east side. TSM are the only team in there, but is there any other place to play around? DA are over at backfilling where FaZe and now Sonics have left them. But even then, that's not a very strong position. It's a lot of healthy teams of 4 still standing, and then, of course, Mime, the one-man army himself. But it's going to be an all-out bloodbath when the circle pushes in these teams from the west.
I think the thing for DA is that they can take that hillside that they've got. And I'm glad we actually got Smash's POV. It gives you some kind of idea as to what we're working with. just kind of stay up in the air a little bit, and if they lay down, they should be out of vision, clear vision from TSM. TSM's got problems of its own because I believe Petrichor Road will probably try and attack that building with vehicles, especially if they go for the full send. They can wait here for now and just kind of chill. You can see with the topography how things are kind of standing. Bullet for mine, finally down. 4-4-4-3. I got a lot of teams full rostered and full ready to rock and roll. The most amount of land to play with, actually, it's DA, and again, it comes down to how those hillsides roll upwards. You can just lay down and completely obscure yourself from vision.
They need to take care of Tiamba first. Once they do that, that's their entire backside cleared out, and Petrichor Road are helping them out with that. Eggslep takes down Linshun, has another angle to try and help out. Grenades come through. I don't know if it can reach that far. It might be a little close. Taking some shots in multiple directions. DA are not just tunnel visioning onto one team. Grenade, does it? Ooh, it actually bounced up into the air before it exploded, so it looked very, very close for a split second there. But how are Tiamba going to be approaching this circle? They don't have any knocks on the DA. They don't have any knocks on the Petrichor Road. Is there anywhere for them to play? It's just going to have to be a blind send at this point, I'm afraid. Seeing where it go down in the kill feed, though, that might be a call to action of Tiamba pushing into the high ground. But already the revive is coming through.
You know that the revive will go straight into it and stick it, so you know they're down to 50% of their manpower. So I think for Tiamba, that was their go sign. That was literally the time to try and make some sort of fortify. And I think now they're out of time. You go one way, like from this position that they're in, it's dead men walking, right? You go left, you got Petrichor Road opens up into you the second you crest that hill. You go up, DA, same scenario. That one knock, in my opinion, was a very vital and very missed opportunity that they should have taken. They should have just got the vehicles and sent it. Yes, it's a little bit slower. Look, Mert's down again. Tiamba, get the cars and hit DA. All right? Get the cars and hit DA. Here it goes, Cameron. They've gone up higher.
They're all in one vehicle. What? I mean, this is basically what to expect, but they're being torn to shreds. They lost their tires. They lost their fortification. I mean, this is all they have left to hide behind. They left one player behind in Lorena, but they're not going to be much support. Luckily, the revive is coming through, but one little peek over by DA. Oh, no, now the car goes away.
You thought you had cover. I mean, there was a bike up there. It would have been nice to see a little bit of a bike send more towards the blue side. DA now forced to push up as well. They're going to the circle kind of make them move for all but a moment. I'm seeing a lot of smoke still being thrown, or at least nades been expended towards the side of TSM. TSM still holding it down here. Best position for now. Marco comes in and cleans up and steals them from Petrichor Road. The smokes are there. This is the good play. This is the best you can ask for. Throw all the smokes you have towards the side of TSM. Block their vision. Allow the rest of your team to push. Vehicle comes in, send it, totally fine. You've got one to hide behind. This is okay for now, but it all comes down to Mamu to try and hold the crown. For Petrichor Road, it was always going to be for both them and Tiamba. Look, it was always going to be a hard push no matter what. But ultimately, this might just leave us up for a TSM versus DA final matchup.
Yeah, seems to be the case. 4 versus 4. I don't know who has a stronger position at the moment. I'm edging it towards DA just a little bit because of the amount of space that they're able to encompass, even though it's not that wide of a spread. But look how open the center of the circle is, and any cover that both of these teams have, it's not going to last for long now that the circle has already started to close. Slowly but surely, VAR is going to be pushing in, going to be using that truck as a little bit of cover of his own, and that's a wide peek out by Miraku to try and get a little extra damage as well. No knocks either side.
Yeah, the smokes will expend shortly, so I think getting the vehicles now and putting them into a position so you can fortify yourself is absolutely the best play. Look at them all go down. Bard's just trying to go for an absolute YOLO play to hit the hillside, and they've been distracted for all but a moment. That's what they need. One knock will kind of open this up to maybe try and make something happen. He's getting aggro. Have DA lost track of him? If he comes up here and they do not realize this, if he comes from the side of them, but he's also lost track of them. However, Code Marco's there to put a bottleneck on that one. Stop the pause for all but a moment as Ira instantly answers back through the smoke. Metralius tries to find a second, but it's not going to happen. There is so much smoke down here. Nobody has no idea. Nobody really has any clean vision onto what's happening. Iroh catches one. TSM is slowly but surely making this work. It's a 1 versus 2. Nail in the coffin, 10 kills in the bag. TSM, with the pure amount of smokes towards the end and a little bit of vehicle usage, they do manage to get outside of that compound. I would say I'm surprised from DA that they allowed them to do that, but DA's also on the same kind of foot, right? Once they move off the side of that hill, it's just an open, barren wasteland and really no hard cover whatsoever to be able to put any kind of fight back to them. And ultimately, it just ends up in a 4 versus 4 deathmatch. And you know what? I'm all for it.
Very well played at the end by TSM. Any lesser team would have tried to play it a little more slowly and wait for DA to make a mistake, but TSM are not that team. They took matters into their own hands and immediately made the moves that they needed to do to give themselves any sort of even footing with DA's high ground, with DA's wider spread, because up until that point, they were just corralled into a single corner with a couple of destroyed vehicles as their only sources of cover, maybe some stacks of tires. Sending that player to the hillside, even if they didn't get a kill, I think opened up mobility purposes for the rest of their team to be able to find those frags, find those angles, and take the win. Because up until that point, DA had minorly, but still an advantage in that fight.
That's the second win in the bag for the bottom 16 when it comes to the side of TSM, and 10 frags also will really send them flying up that leaderboard. Remember that Metagaming had a 16th placed finish. Will that do adjustments to the leaderboard? Well, we'll find out. We're going to pass it back to the gentleman on the desk to break down that game a little bit more.
TSM with another victory here once again, and signs of life, Avenger, from Digital Athletics. We're starting to see them put themselves into good positions once again. A nice 4v4 finish to round things out. Unfortunately, maybe just not the best position for them in the end, right?
And that Erangel is just super hard to have a finish on. Needs so much utility to kind of clutch it out there. TSM with 20, Digitaletics with 14. Of course, Petrichor rode as well with a lot of kills on the board for 12, and Sonics also managed to get 11. So 4 double digits here. Yeah, any time that, you know, TSM wins, I'm just hoping they'll pull out the big old TSM chant again. You know, that was a big old cringe moment for me. That was fantastic. I love that. I need more of that in my life.
We live for the cringe moments around here.
Yeah, I love that.
That's what we live for. That's like the whole operating procedure of our desk segments most of the time. So Godspeed, we were talking a little bit about TSM's position relative to everything that was going on around them. Of course, once again we saw the brutal hard shifts throughout the mid game and late game, and in the end, TSM does get that compound, but. You know, it wasn't necessarily easy sledding for them by any means. I mean, they had to deal with Petrichor, they had to worry about DA. I mean, there was a lot of stuff going on there.
Yeah, TSM had to deal with multiple teams, and on top of that, they held some utility for the end as well. They fought off Petrichor, they got some wipes, and I mean, it's not like they were just sitting in the compound doing nothing, so they definitely, you know, earned that position. But I do also love what Petrichor did. They came in, they went underneath, which essentially was north of TSM, and they were able to basically farm all the kills that TSM arguably would have been able to get. And that type of aggressive play is just what I really love from Petrichor. But yeah, don't take anything away from TSM. And DA also at the very end had a really nice fight. And it could have gone either way, but yeah, it was just a really nice ending for all three of those teams.
Sure did. Well, guys, we've got 2 more games left on the tab today, so make sure you stick around. We're going to go cut to a break real quick while we switch over to Erangel, so don't go anywhere. We will be right back.
Athletes are always challenging themselves to get better. You've seen this in all sports. Esports is no exception. You can never predict the outcome. The only thing you can control is how ready you are. Over and over, players adapt, trying to improve, fighting hard for every percent gained. Give everything you've got to the challenge and show your finest. Bring your best out. Strive for perfection. It's our goal, too.
Hello PUBG Esports fans. The PUBG Global Invitational.S, our biggest tournament yet, begins in February. With a tournament this big, there's a lot to take in. So let's take a look at the format and rules of PGI.S 2021. PGI.S's main event, the weekly series, will be held for a total of 6 weeks starting from February 8th. It is divided into the weekly survival taking place on weekdays and the weekly final held over the weekend. Unlike the previous global tournaments, points are not accumulated week over week, giving every team the same fighting chance each week. Weekly Survival features 16 matches held across 3 weekdays. The goal for teams is simple: win a single chicken dinner. Once you win, you stop playing and move on to the weekly final. The next team on the waitlist takes your place and a new match begins. This list is determined by ranked decision matches to decide the order our 32 teams participate. These 24 deciding matches take place over 3 days starting from February 5th and will divide our teams into 4 different groups. The top 16 teams from these groups face off in the weekly survival matches first. The weekly final is more like the PUBG Esports you're used to. 10 matches are held across 2 days, and points the teams earn are added up to decide their final ranking for the week. The 16 teams that played in the weekly final get the first shot at next week's weekly survival, and the remaining 16 teams decide their placement on the waitlist during a bottom 16 match held every Saturday, before the weekly final. From there, the cycle continues throughout the tournament. One of the big differences with PGI.S is that instead of receiving prize money based on your final rank is determined by how much prize money you've won. We're awarding prize money every week, and the team who has collected the most at the end will be crowned our PGI.S champion. Here's how it breaks down. The first 8 teams to win a weekly survival match each week take home an automatic cash prize, earning more the sooner they win. From there, the winners of the weekly finals tournament get an even bigger cash prize. The first place prize being $25,000 on week 1, and growing to an astounding $500,000 by week 6, giving teams lots of opportunity to catch up and claim the title. Winning isn't the only way teams are earning cash though. 30% of the total profit made from PGI.S item sales goes back to participating teams. This money will be distributed based on the percentage of money each team won in the tournament, with bigger rewards for the higher performing teams. So, not only do you get cool skins and voting coupons to earn even more cool skins, but you're also helping your favorite teams bring home more well-deserved prize money. Win-win! That about wraps up our overview of the PUBG Global Invitational.S. Initial ranking decisions happen on February 5th, and the first official matches kick off on February 8th. So be sure to tune in, pick your winners, and cheer on your favorite teams across 8 weeks of intense PUBG action.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back. We have 2 games down, 2 more games to go to determine our final ranking for week number 3. Let's take a look at that leaderboard real quick and see where we stand after 2 games. Meta was looking really good going into this, but now after a little bit of a couple of big games here, TSM right behind them, Avenger.
Oh yeah, they're extremely close, and it's getting extremely top heavy as well. You know, I mean, from 5th, 6th down, it's a whole good game that they're behind. So the top 4 is really consolidating their place and wanting to play on the first day. You know, Metagaming, GSM, Sonic, Fisk, and these teams have been playing super well past these 2 days. And the teams on our right-hand side, unfortunately, is looking like they're not going to be playing at all, or they're only going to be playing a few games.
Well, that's the thing, isn't it, Godspeed? We had this clump on the right side of the leaderboard last week in these games as well, and we saw so much shuffling in the last 2 games. So, you know, I mean, you even look at Detonation Gaming White, a good game, 2 good games here on Erangel could be the difference between not playing at all and playing on day 2.
Yeah, they were one of the teams that we were all kind of really impressed with going into this. I mean, the stuff we've also been seeing from C's has been really impressive. But, you know, aside, you know, talking right back about Metagaming kind of slipping on the banana peel that game and just kind of going out of it, they're still in a good spot, and it is top heavy. I'm still looking at those 3 teams on the bottom, though, T1, Tiamba, as well as Detonation Gaming White, and I'm just wondering if either one of those teams is going to be able to escape getting 32nd and, or excuse me, not 32nd, but even being able to play the next weekly survival. But I also want to say that I'm really, really happy with the way that Sonics has been performing, you know, just to kind of drive that NA love home. Sonics has been playing really well. They have not taken this kind of bottom 16 relegation lightly. They've come out, their attitude seemed to be great. They're having a good time. They're playing very well, and they're still getting a lot of good points in these games where they're also getting hard shifted on. So it's good to see the Sonics continue to play well. Look at Hwin. What a good looking lad.
All business for Mr. Hunter Wynn. But we saw a little bit of signs of life last game there from Tiamba, but maybe could have expected a little bit more. What do you think, Avenger?
I mean, that's yeah. I was hoping for more, but they were in a position where they couldn't really cross the road without getting too much pressure. So I didn't see them come out with much more. They got a few points out of it. I believe it was 8. They got a 4th and 4 kills. So they should have done similar in the other games. They had some really rough games before leading up to that, with multiple 0-point games and multiple ones. So unfortunate games for them so far. They need to clutch out the last 2 games here to not end up in the bottom.
Absolutely. Well, we're going to keep our eyes on that bottom half of the leaderboard, make sure we see how the shuffle works out, see how many opportunities these boys are going to get when we get into the weekly scramble, where the chicken dinners are what matters. But right now, it's all about the points, and it's all about Erangel, and it's all about the Sims and Cameron Davis bringing you all the action. Guys, take it away.
Thank you very much. Match 7. 2 more games to go. We'll be able to find where people will see their footing moving into the weekly survival come next week. At the moment, Metagaming is still on top, but it's only by a fractional margin. TSM with a 20-point game, Cameron, have gone flying up the league tables, and I'll tell you what, for Meta, it was nice to be there for a moment. It was nice to have that buffer of, 24 points? But that has just been cut completely to the neck.
Listen, everyone's allowed one. I said they were going to be in first place unless they had a disastrous final 3 games. They had their 16th place game. Now they're going to be back on top, okay? Even the teams that win events, they're always going to go out 16th place in 1 or 2 matches over the course of a tournament. So the run, the dream isn't over for them just yet. I am still confident in my LATAM plus KR boys there in Meta. But yes, it was a very, very solid game from TSM as well. DA to get to the final position. We're a DA right now on the leaderboard. It's 7th place at the moment, tied with Navi. So definitely a big come up for them over the course of this weekend to correct what went all so very wrong just 1 weekend ago.
Yeah, trying to right the ship and correct its course was certainly good. Please hit it. Please hit it. Please hit it. There's nothing that makes me just more happier than, I always say, never mind bolt actions, but straight off the bat, just a quick old iron sight. Oh, eyes in the sky for Wookie Bookie to try. He's actually going for the full lay down spray. His observer's like, no, we gotta see if this works. I mean, fair play. It's have a go, hero. I'm totally fine with that whatsoever. Circle has popped. It has come in. Actually, he did scrape him. By the looks of it, he did just clip him.
Got a bullet in the foot.
Damage in there. Yeah, we'll kind of go with that one.
Tap.
So, Circle comes in more on the western side. We already have E36 going up towards Zaki. Furia will be in North Georgia Pole. We'll be seeing another team in Tiamba down towards South Georgia Pole. And a couple of other teams rotating that are going to be quick towards that 1K7 have pushed a little bit further. One solo player in Savior from the shooting range, so they'll be a little bit faster, a little bit more quicker to engage, and that will maybe get onto the bottom side of Erangel, if you will, across the kind of the river area. At the moment, it's the mountainside camera that kind of becomes probably will be a scouting position for a lot of teams because it's absolutely dead center of this circle. So anyone who can kind of get up there, maybe capitalize on having good vision and lay of the land and seeing where teams are, it could play dividends here. But you always have to have that backup plan. The one thing I don't like to see when people sending up there, don't get me wrong, sometimes circle will force you to do that. But I hate to see teams not have a backup plan from when they're there early game.
Yeah, it's playing around Georgia Pole Mountain is a bit tricky of one. I think the best time to use it is when the circle is still on the west side like it is now, but further down south where you don't have to worry so much about guarding all of your angles. You're able to just focus on one side and overlook the entirety of the circle from one angle alone. TM are in a good position here to use that position, as you said, for a scouting mission. However, they are only just now arriving in their position with their vehicles, so they're going to be looting later, and already DXG are on. Tampa just started looting. DXG finished their looting. This is how important very specific quick timings can be. I don't think DXG have the most loot, but they don't seem to mind. They want to find a position in the circle as early as possible, even if it means they're only 70%, 80% looted up.
Look, I'm seeing budget biker helmet. I think that was a buttstock of a UMP, so it kind of shows you what utility we're going to be working for and what the economy is going to be like on DXG. But if you can get yourself to a better position, you can get yourself to a place that's currently unlooted, then it makes no difference. It's just armor, it's just gear for survivability to the next pit stop. With the amount of open land that should be around there, with where we're looking from the flight path, certainly more towards the west, you'd anticipate that's going to be open. You probably won't go as deep as somewhere like Gatka, just because you know that there could be a very quick point of contact there. Speaking of quick point of contact, Sonic's moving a little bit precariously towards T1. Adder is out on a limb on his own, so if he has a vehicle, they should probably hear that noise. I'm assuming they park the vehicle up here so they get on the roof and then scout from it. It's something that teams like to do quite often. I'm totally fine with it. Get that little bit of height, get that little bit of vision to look towards it. And with the scoping in straight towards the side of T1, I'd assume that maybe, just maybe, Sonics have some information.
They might. I'm looking at the map, and that is going to be a retreat from Adder there to get out. But it's not just Adder. Aqua 5 is also there on his lonesome with the compound just north of the rest of the T1. So I don't know if this was on purpose? Is this an intentional separation that T1 wanted to try and focus for? It's just the pressure of Sonic's pushing them away? Or they also might have been completely caught off guard by how many different teams are moving into the circle so quickly. You've only just now hit 5 minutes, and already we have DA, already we have TSM, already we have Sonics and DXG surrounding T1's initial loot position. And that can be a very dangerous thing if you're a team that gets caught off guard by that. You need to be so aware of the timings of all the teams involved. And that includes realizing where the playing path is going to go, how each team plays around that. It's a lot to deal with for preparation that goes into these games ahead of time.
Tiambo will be the first one that really kind of sends any fortification up towards Georgia Paul Mountain. There is one player from Fury already up there, just kind of chilling and using it as a scouting position, but I think reinforcements will be sent his way. You can see Fury do have another player going that way and heading that way. I did hear a pin pulled. Some kind of utility on the side of TSM, so maybe they're anticipating more of a push from Sonics, but they've opted to disengage from that battle altogether and not take it and maybe go for a much better position. Crit came in, you saw the green machine. AWM should be in play because it's very close to a team, so I anticipate that pulled in and put to good use. It certainly was put to good use from E36 in the previous map, but unfortunately Navi ruined all of that. I think we had, again, 2 AWMs in play, so I certainly would have liked to have seen that used a little bit more. Xenan, a low and slow approach, lined it up and waited. Job done. Satu does answer back, though, so K7 not without a response from E36.
Can he get the confirm? That's the big question. I don't know if he has the angle on that. He's peeking on this right side just in case Xenon stayed on that position. But yeah, it is going to be the revive coming through from K7 with under the cover of smoke as well. So an unfortunate loss of life for E36. I don't want to say that it was one that was entirely unavoidable, but you do need to be aware of how deep into the circle you are. And even though a lot of people are putting pressure on the south side of the river, because that's where the majority of this circle is, there's still a big chunk of land to the north side that K7 and E36 are both playing around. You really just got to make sure that you are not out in the open like that to get got.
M1 Kia, one of the teams that are a little bit slower to this circle. The only team that is left outside of the circle, Uber's on his own. Well, the rest 3 players are FaZe Clan and more towards the southeast. Petrichor Road, currently by Stalber, so definitely a very slow approach for them. They'll probably hit around shooting range, somewhere between LG Divine K7 kind of area. Again, with how much room is up in the north, they shouldn't really be losing players unless it's, you know, just pure bad scouting or just full send YOLOing through teams and really hoping for the best. Fergus, a little bit of a tickle's done from Senya. And again, this is kind of coming off the back of, I mean, loot on guns, it's looking a tiny bit better. Well, it's looking fine. That's general meta, right? Use the mini and the older mini and the barrel, but chest-wise, and helmet for that matter, both level 1 on the side of Fergus, so not the level 2s that we would anticipate to see players kind of rocking at this stage in the game and hoping for, certainly with the super settings and the increased armor, the increased gun drops, everything else that kind of goes with it. And yeah, it's usually by circle 2 at least, I want to see everybody in level 2 gear.
Yeah, and DXG have a pretty wide spread. They actually have Long K all the way out, maybe like a stone's throw away from the coast itself on the west side. And I don't know if that is because they're trying to go for big map control for how early they arrived into the circle, or it could be they're just trying to go for more loot while they have the opportunity to do so. Sato, you know K7 are in this area. Luckily, Luxlock is having trouble hitting these shots. Sato is on the retreat, spins that vehicle around. But that was a scary position to be in.
It's not over just yet. The staple gun will keep firing. Doesn't find its target just yet. A little bit of a damage done, but anything else, it's more just of a warning shot. So they'll take the crossroads. They'll be able to kind of watch this bridge. I won't anticipate anyone really coming for this bridge unless Petra just go for the fullest, biggest of YOLO straight across. But again, with Lockslock there, you wouldn't anticipate a bit more of a warning. It would be a disaster coming across that. I mean, thankfully they are in the compound, so you wouldn't see anyone at the front and center and Harry Potter tower mortars, so to speak, and get that full spray down as people come flying across. But you do have Fury on the opposing side. There is a garage just on the other side, which teams tend to magnetize towards. Both LG Divine and Petrichor are coming down towards the main road, and both of these teams actually have to cross to over the bridge, Cammy. I'm a little bit concerned that we're going to have some kind of three-way mess here towards that northeast side. All the teams have to come down. Even E36, hell, is already going for it. So there is a bit of a bottleneck that could approach us here.
There is, as well as a potential fight on Dirigible Mountain, because Furia, you said they already had that isolated god compound just to the north. Now that the circle is shipped down towards the south, all 4 of them are going on top of the mountain. They might come to head with Tiamba. I was curious to see where T1 were going. They're going to be taking a couple of compounds, still trying to hold a pretty wide spread just below the shadow of the mountain itself. A lot of rotation in towards the west. DA, DXG also regrouping, because like I mentioned, it was a wide spread, but Fergus, okay, spots DA just in time before he goes just a little bit too far. But now where is he driving? DXG still want to have a wide spread, a split of their own. And I don't know how safe that's going to be. It is only phase 2. But that's also very close to dead center. We've seen how quickly in the Gatka area, how quickly spots to hold get challenged. Just like this, just by meta. And so I guess DXG are going to begrudgingly hold down only one building, really hoping they could spread their investments and have it all come in. But unfortunately, they're going to be a one household family for now.
They're still rocking an ump as well, so I respect it. I don't know how it's going to fare when we get more towards, close combat and people are rocking barrels up against you, because, yeah, it's you definitely need that first shot and that first amount of vision, otherwise you're going to get completely melted in a close combat scenario. So
Yeah.
we'll see how it fares. Then again, Necro's rocking one as well. Why the hell not? It's yeah. If you want to run the SMGs, be my guest. I love a bit of a mix-up, but generally kind of a telltale story of how the economy's going, what the loot's been like, how quickly you've moved up here. If Necro's been here from essentially the get-go just to come and solidify this position from them, then it's understandable why the loot wouldn't be as good as what we'd anticipate, certainly with the metas and so on and so forth. For meta, speaking of, you saw them, they didn't actually fully commit to that compound. It's a smaller compound, so you don't want every single player in there. They will take the 2-2. Can be a little bit precarious, given that it is in the open.
He spot him.
I think M2, he just caught him, didn't he? Yeah, he did. He absolutely did. And now he sees the head. If he can get a bolt action onto kill, that would be a phenomenal start. Speaking of bolties, Marco's in the kill feed.
Yeah, that's one for the Mosin, I believe. Yeah. So a weapon that was recently added, it very easily gets confused with the Kar 98. It essentially fills almost the same slot. And just sort of load out with the bolt action. But now that M200 spotted out Furia, and Furia, of course, know that. How are they going to approach? Are they aware of Mings being this close to them? That's the big question. He is in grenade range. Necro is here to also be the front scout. But Mings, oh, this could be huge. He's not letting go of the trigger just yet. Trying to find a better opportunity because it's an easy prone to get out of line of fire for that. Now he's going to run forward. Necro surely heard that.
And just biding his time and kind of holding down the front angle of approach. There's no lethal utility on the side of Tiamba, at least certainly not from that one player that we saw, so it wasn't as if we were getting in nade range, it was really just waiting to see them overstep the boundaries, but Fury is doing the exact same thing, and it's a good reason why, because the circle's kind of gone their way. Long is lurking in the distance. That could be a problem for Tiamba. I have just seen Tracer fire open up. Xenan, are you going to do the same again? You got to be quick on this one, Senya. Not somebody who would forget to check his back lines, but then again, if he's tunnel visioned onto Meta, if he's here literally just to get information for Na'Vi, he has been punished. A little bit too tunnel vision for all but a moment, and the rest of Na'Vi will be forced to rotate. Everyone else does, as the circle again gravitates more towards that northern side. Miraku, Rusty Zera, that's a knock on top of the hill. Is that the go sign for Tiamba to make a move on this?
That might be, especially now the rest of Tiamba are relocating back onto the top of the hill. It was a 2-2 split, 2 on the mountain, 2 on the compound just to the west of it, but this circle shift, of course, is going to call the entirety of the team back on board. The revive is going to come through for Furia before the real push can happen, but Mings, trying to put the pressure through, he's going to load up his own heal in. That's a lot of grenades being thrown back and forth. Lin Shun is going to find one to Rusty Zero, but everyone else in the midst of their own rotational worries.
That'll be the second knock onto him, so they have to be extremely fast on this one. If they're not there for the get-go, then it's going to be problematic. You can see Tiamba's biting, chomping at the bit to try and make something happen here, but they have had damage themselves. The nades have done the job and held them back for now. The aggro push has not come through just yet, but with The flashbangs up. That's 2 of them that have been committed. Eventually, this utility, you need to make best use of it. Does he realize the player on his left-hand side? I think he just clipped his helmet. Peekaboo, thank you. One jumps up. The distraction's there, and at the moment, it's kind of just push back and forth, hope for the best. Uber in the kill feed, onto Turtle. One player going down on the side of C's. Damwon Kia finds first contact onto their compound that they were pushing within. Mings will be the first one to fall on the side of Tiamba. But I tell you what, there's really no reason at the moment for Fury to go over that hill. Once they do, they're rather exposed. It's a very bare rock side, and that's where Tiamba would really take full advantage of them coming over that hillside. At the moment, I think they get this res because there's no real reason. You are committing to death ultimately if you're going to go up and above that hill.
We've seen talk of how that mountain can be very, very hard to hold dead center as well. But look at all these teams driving into one another on the east side. TSM are here to pick up the pieces and pick up the points, but I don't think Wookie is in a position to be saved. There are way too many teams running around this area, too many threats. So it looks like he is going to be given up to the Wolves. Retreat from the rest of TSM, and they're going to pull back and wait for the circle to close because we are 10 seconds away from that. FaZe and Damwon Kia have made a... I'm not going to say the most successful. I think both have been wounded a little bit from their rotation, but they've been able to make a way to the north side of the mountain, as it were. But it is going to stay on the mountain itself. Tiamba and Furia, their fight is not over just yet, but Raspu, he's going aggressive. He wants these kills.
Yeah, you're not going to take advantage of that. With 2 players down, you know it's time to go. There is a response, and at the moment, it's a scrappy one. Only 1 frag in the bag for the side of Tiamba, and it's Lorena at the back. The nade is getting cycled. It's up, it's over, and he will take the low approach onto this one. But with how much damage has been done to Tiamba at the moment, he's just in recovery mode. I'd anticipate he tries to go for these flushes the best he can, make essentially the best of a bad time. 1-0. Whoa! What? Whoa! That is...
And he gets the revive too.
Yeah, that is disgusting. I did not see that coming whatsoever. That is a blinder of a shot.
I don't think Furia saw it coming either. He was running out in the open, which is not expected at all, but also unexpected is K7 driving directly to Petrichor Road. Gray was letting the first couple pass, let his team take the brunt of the fight, and now he's going to peek over and finish the job. Only 1 member of K7 remaining, and it is Zenon in Navi's vehicle, might I add, after he assassinated that player down on the southwest side, stole his vehicle to run away, but where can he go from now with this circle ship? SQ also holding, but Matralius with the spray onto H-Win in mind.
Yeah, this is a phenomenal push from DA. They just realized what they'd done. I saw the knock come through from Marco in the kill feed. It was the AWM. Metralius just full-blown send it. The second the resuscitation comes off, snap, player back down. Tiggleton will throw the fake smokes. I like this. Try and focus DA towards the latter side of this compound while you and Shrimsy get back together and regroup yourselves. A little bit of damage was done on the side of DA, but certainly not half as much damage to the side of Sonics, losing 2 players simultaneously. That is a good old push from DA, a very big knock, and that's what we kind of want to see. When you get those knocks, when you take that advantage, just push on the knock and have done with it. And for certain teams, it's a bit of a shock tactic. They don't anticipate the push, especially with how this whole format can be changing back and forth. Besto's gone down to the blue. I'm assuming, I'd like to think that there wasn't for lack of meds and it was a shot from some player, but honestly, there's no one near him, so I am concerned that the med situation with Na'Vi is kind of showing its full-blown hand there. Malofo with the nade. Ooh, he's running into it. He's running into it! He doesn't realize it's directly in front of him, and the bombardment will continue.
Good angles here by... Well, that just came away, and that's another one on to Damwon Kia. They came in late. There weren't a lot of options for them to go. So unfortunately, they are just getting picked apart by the teams who are here first. Under trying to push back a fight of his own to stay alive just for a little bit. And the same could be said for Sonics. Shrimsy and Tickleton are now taken out, and they are eliminated in 13th place. DA still healthy, still a compound, but it is no longer in the circle as it centers up once again. Imagine a game that we get not that many hard shifts. This is a game that it stays on to Triple Mountain, one of the most difficult areas of the map to play around.
I'm sure all of Damwon have just been expended by nades. It's rather unfortunate, but it is what it is when you got one team on the side that's completely looted up to the nines. Vert nade comes through. It actually finds its target. While the knock's not there, the damage has been done enough to one player, but also to force the res with the lack of health on the other. Star-Lord, are you going to play a spoiler to Meta's beautiful nade placement here? They're trying to make something happen onto DXG and work their way up this hillside. I'm hoping that there has been a little bit of a preemptive scout here from Meta, and they've got their backside covered. You'd have to, certainly with the vehicle usage from T1, you'd have to be hearing this one. They're going for an alternative entrance into this one, a little bit of a drive-by, tickles him a little bit. You can get down the spine of the hillside here and sit yourself in these tributaries rather comfy. Adder Silzen's out the back of the vehicle, and I don't think a resuscitation is possible whatsoever. So just kind of pass on this one, leave him be, lose the point, job done, stay alive. No issues whatsoever. Star-Lord hot on the heels, try and secure the frag. Deny any kind of res, which he will do. He's here, that's totally fine. And honestly, like, I think, Cameron, it's not really, we've kind of not touched on it because it's been a bit of a hell in a cell up on that hillside, up on that mountain, but it's DA who's really paying dividends here because they have so much breathing room.
Yeah, it's going to be difficult to see what they can do once the circle closes on them. It's once you hit that area that Meta are in, that T1 are in, that you really had not a lot of cover, and you are under the thumb of the people on the high ground on top of the hill. That is, if they're not fighting each other out, and M200 gets a nice knock onto a member of Petrichor Road. But because of that, E36 is going to be pushing. They see it in the kill feed, and they're going to try and take control of themselves. But will they be aware of T1 sneaking up behind them? They've been taken advantage of by an assassin already, maybe a second, especially now that they're caught between two separate squads. Petrichor Road with the first onto E36.
Different fighters an update. Looks like Meta is just coming under the thumb of DA. Different fight altogether to what's on your screen. So they've now eliminated one of their closest competitors that was directly in front of them. Things not going the best for Meta. It's certainly not been the points that we anticipated, with TSM hot on their heels and 3 players still alive. Petrichor Road again, they've now moved into this very scrappy battle with teams just lingering and lurking around the mountaintop. It's all king of the hill and trying to play for it. A second team falls, a third one even, to the side of Digital Athletics. It's only one player, but nevertheless, it's a placement jump and a frag point in the bag. Good nade. They've hit off the back of it. They've actually hit off the back wall. One's gone. There is a second one there as well. This is the clean-up crew, even with the flash on the side. You've got Dangshe in for support. Petrichor Road. That is a very, very clean sweep coming out of T1.
8 kills for them, and they still have 4 up. We keep criticizing T1, and this is why, because they can pull out performances like this. It's about maintaining this position and continuing this momentum for the rest of the event. Aqua 5 does get taken down, but there's more than enough space for T1 to get the revive on that. It's about having the utility to push through this line, this hail of bullets that Tiamba are going to continue to press onto them. Remember, Tiamba are now down to only 2 members, and M200. A little bit of a strange drop there. Takes a little bit of damage, but he wants to push forward. He wants to take area back from T1. Lorena's holding the back line with the long-range damage for M200 to be there with the final blow up close.
Of course, a crit would fall here. Out of everything you would kind of anticipate, if anything, it just gives him the level 3 gear that he needs to try and take this fight. Survivability-wise, if there's any kind of weaponry in there, they might just sack it off at this point. You don't necessarily need it. The smokes will go down to block the vision of Tiamba. And yeah, to kind of touch on M200's play, I think he panicked a little bit. Certainly peaked it when he didn't have to and was very exposed, so just dropped down to try and avoid sheer death. But by doing so, I didn't even see. He is behind them. He is behind all of them, but the problem is it's a 4 versus 1. Quick spray through the smoke will do the damage. Dangshe doesn't get the finish. So that's all for naught. It was definitely a good play. It was definitely a good idea. Not a good idea to be jumping off. Gustav gets damaged while he's flying down the hill, breaks his legs, and now Fuzzface has to either try and play medic or just has to try and play solo, which I think at this stage is just too far for the revive.
M200 should have done more damage than that, but he started to shoot just too early and got discovered real quick. Gustav should have done more damage to T1, but the immediate turn onto him by those members once they spotted him out, once they heard another member shooting at them, was amazing. T1 are playing out of their minds at this moment. They are reacting to everything within a split second, and they are, I mean, they got the kills. rewarded for it. They have the positioning, they have the manpower still remaining. 4 up with 5 teams overall. But now here on the east side, TSM versus DNG White. 3 kills for Detonation Gaming. And they know TSM are here.
Yeah, I think the one interesting thing about this, Cammy, in this fight for me is the fact that TSM's options, in fact, all of these teams' options are quite limited because of DA. Yeah. Like you literally, if you TSM's point of view, you can't run left. If you run left, you're exposed. You know Marco has an AWM. You know Marco and DA as a team have been just bodying so many players. Now they have to do all the work. Now they have to get into this fight up against the mountain. But remember, earlier on, DA did remove Meta from a very solid position just on the spine of that hillside, just directly in front of them, which is the position that Marco should take residency in now.
He's going up. The problem is you still have to climb up that mountain. And so they're mostly hoping that especially DGW and TSM can take care of each other first, because T1, they're obviously with this shift focusing a little more on the northern side. But as it always is fighting over this mountain, you have to go where the cover is. And there's always limited cover once you hit those slopes. There's a lot of pockets of open area across this entire mountain. But Vard, spots member of DGW, can't get the knock, falls away a little bit toasty with the Molotov, but he's not burned. Whoa, whoa, hello, Miraku, walking up right to the face. And he's gonna get traded out for it, but immediately traded back by Vard. It's now just Machao remaining. Can he take this entire fight? The grenade just too far to finish off Iro.
They've got to keep the aggression up, and they've got to deny the res. Just because T1's lingering in the backside, you've kind of committed yourself to this one. You committed yourself to the cause. I'd anticipate the revive comes through for... Oh, actually, I'm going to say for Miraku, but I'm forgetting how exposed he is on the hillside. They can kind of use him for bait now, but DA is lurking. The death squad is rapping on this one. They smell blood in the water, and they want to get involved. This is just a shark tank. And all these little fishes are about to fall victim to Digital Athletics. They want to get one over on TSM. They just came second to them. They want to jump them this time round, and with 4 players, one geared up with level 3, they have all the tools and all the time in the world to make this happen. But T1, I don't want to take anything away from them, Cammy. They've been playing fantastic thus far, and they have a very, very strong position on this circle.
Yeah. I think that's why DA are actually backing off of this fight against TSM. They know that if they were to try and push through, even if they were to wipe the entirety of TSM, they would basically be giving the game away to T1. And so they want to try and play for the win, not just for immediate kills in front of them, and also admirably not falling into the trap of vengeance. See what they can do though, because they are still on the low ground. So I'll hide behind a little bit of a pocket. And this does mean that if T1 try and peek onto their position, there's a huge opportunity for TSM to now try and take the fight against them. It's this weird rock, paper, scissors situation that we're falling into right now.
It's quite hard. Especially losing Wookie Bucky earlier on. It's a little bit devastating blow for TSM. It puts them at a man disadvantage. Bit of a scrappy fight towards that eastern embankment as everyone tried to push through. He did lose his life, unfortunately, so now it comes down to the mantle of 3 players. T1 13 frags in the bag, DA 8, so both of these teams are feeling it at the moment. DA have certainly gone through a fair amount of teams towards this entire southeast side that they've been continuously keeping control of. Marco. Silencer also to boot just on the back of it if you didn't need, you know, if you get a little bit of the 5% deviation as well. You wouldn't anticipate mainly they probably, if there was a good time to actually use a sniper rifle in a bolt action, this would be it. You know, you just want to try and get that pick. You're not going to go for the full-blown barrel spray at this point. The same goes for T1 because they know if they overstep the peak of the mountain that they're on, they're going to be silhouetting. Like, you're going to be completely just head bobbing up against the background of the sky. You're going to be a pixel pick. And if Marco's on point today, and if he sees that, he'll be able to hit it, and then that's when things get really dicey, because that's the one tapping you down. You then got to commit the player to try and get the revive. They're also set up on this 2-2 split, which I think is probably more progressive of them looking who they can take down first. If they get a tag onto TSM, they push TSM. If they get a tag onto T1, they try and flush T1. So I really do like the split, but circles here. T1 are going to lose a little bit of sight advantage that they had given Aqua 5's deeper position. But same can be said for DA, as Smash is now forced into the fray from the woods.
I think DA were hoping for a little bit of an overextension by either T1 or TSM, because now that the circle has closed, we know exactly where the end game is going to be. Right there in the center of all three squads, with DA being the team on the low ground, having to push uphill, puts them at a bit of a disadvantage. So I still think that they made the right decision to fall away from TSM in regards of having the best shot to fully win the game. But now they actually have to come up big when the opportunity arises. Smoke's being thrown out by T1, trying to give them a little bit of cover as they push forward, but damage is going to force them away even for a quick second.
Positive side for T1 is they can actually fall back. They can move back towards the, if you will, from the north. They can move to the north of the map. Like, there is that huge rock. They can kind of caress themselves. It would avoid the DA fight. It would avoid TSM for all but a moment. But it then allows DA to get involved in the fight. And it's what do you want to do? Do you want to be proactive or do you want to be reactive? It's entirely like, I mean, I'm really intrigued to see how T1 deal with this one. Do they just run and kind of cower beneath the rock and allow DA to kind of fully send up, even if they get a 1 or 2 knocks and just slow them down? I think that's probably what Aqua5's job is going to do. They have committed to the rock side. This gives them now an opportunity to let DA and TSM fight amongst themselves and then third party. Star-Lord's gone down low. This will be to try and stop any TSM lower ground position on them. And again, same principle of the wrap. As we now see TSM, DA. It's a mirror image from the previous round. It looks like these will be the first point of contact.
Yeah, as you mentioned, T1 reach up toward the north side. Shots come through. Marco finds a little bit of damage on Var, but isn't able to get the knock. Molly comes out to try and confirm that down. That's not going to be the case, but the pressure from the blue is making it incredibly uncomfortable for TSM, and Miraku's forced either into the blue or into the fire.
Yeah, that area of denial from the Molly was phenomenal. To put that down just limits what they can do. Grenade goes off. Health will drop. DA walks through TSM, and now it's time for T1 to strike. While they're in a weakened position, while they're all wandering upside the hill, the bloodbath begins. DA, welcome to the circle. T1's here with warm, open arms to receive, but Smash answers back. Now we've got signs of life. DA's doing it. T1 answers back. Is it a 1 versus 1? It's a 1 versus 2. DA, and it's actually T1 who comes out on top. A clean finish at the end for T1, but a valiant effort coming out of Digital Athletics. While it was a little bit of a slow work up to it, I'm all for that, Cammy. Like a 3-way battle for the end of it, I'm fine with that. Give me that all day long.
T1 played that very, very well. As you mentioned, they went towards the north side. They allowed TSM and DA to fight. And for a second, I was wondering, why is Zhengche not shooting? He sees DA right in front of him, but he is waiting for the rest of his team to get in the proper position to all start shooting together and eliminate DA. And while it wasn't the cleanest execution of the guillotine, it was still a victory for T1. What was that? 17 kills or something? It was a good amount of frags throughout that entire game. And for a team that has been struggling so much, not just at this event, but leading up to it, what a great game for them.
Another second placement comes out for Digital Athletics. Don't want to take anything away from them whatsoever, because certainly it was a damn fine attempt from them. I am trying to just get track of what it was. 27-point game for T1. That is absolutely stellar. I mean, still 12 frags also to boot for Digital Athletics. That will at least bolster them a little bit up the leaderboard, but certainly T1, that's what we want to see, especially even if it's just not, regardless, you need the best placement possible for these bottom 16 games, and a 27-point game is most certainly going to do that. That was a wild end to that game, so now I'm going to pass it back to the analyst desk. They can break that all down for us just a little bit more, because it was very, very chaotic.
Thank you, boys. Yes, indeed, 27 points. They had 18 points in every game going into this, and they just pick up 27, shoot themselves up the leaderboard. We'll see how far here in a minute, but what a great performance coming out from T1 there, Avenger.
Yeah, fantastic performance, especially in the way they managed to get so many kills throughout the game and also managed to keep 4 guys alive. And then the way they played the end game here, like keeping the high ground and the kind of the brow of the top of the hill here in Everest, managed to put a lot of pressure on the other teams. And Digital and TSM, they just ended up fighting each other super hard. And Adder with 9 kills, just 1 kill from the double digits. But what a stellar performance from him.
Absolutely insane. You see that top leaderboard there, kills, Godspeed. And since, you know, I'm not looking at chat, but I can only assume that we're seeing just a nonstop string of DA lull. They lost, they came in second. Just a casual reminder, Digital Athletics, 40 points on the day. They have been playing out of their damn minds today.
I think both DA as well as honestly TSM, man, they constantly are making it towards the end. Obviously, they won the previous game, but this is what we've been talking about with T1. This is exactly what we've wanted to see out of them. Whatever it was that caused them to play as a team on Everest, what I mean by that is the way that they positioned themselves, they spread out, they were playing for trades, they were covering each other off of grenades as well. I mean, this is stuff that we've been, kind of been waiting to see this entire time and that we haven't. So it's been great to finally watch T1 come together, and what a way to remind us why they're here. You know, a 17 kill game is a little out of control, but also all the credit to DA. They played that very well, and they have been playing very well today overall.
Both teams very, very hard fought first and second place there. Let's take a look at the overall leaderboards and see what the damage is after that good performance from T1. They find themselves jumping 7 spots into 7th place. 7 spots jump. That means 7 more games that they are going to get to play here in this next week, Avenger.
Yeah, that's fantastic for them. T1, they needed that, and you know, there's not too much of a gap up to getting a few more. If you can snatch, you know, 5-10 more points in that game, or even take another win, they could be setting themselves up quite nicely. But it's in the top, it's extremely close. Like, it's 10 points from 5th place to 1st. And also in our mid pack, it's really close as well. T1, if they go out early, there's, you know, LG Divine, Navi, Division X Gaming. They're looking at taking over that spot with just a few points on the board.
Yeah, going into the final game of the day, Godspeed, look at the bottom part of that leaderboard. I mean, you are seeing a bunch of teams that are just mere points away from each other. And we're talking the difference between not playing at all and playing, you know, more a day, even maybe even coming in on the day 2.
Yeah, but the team for me that really is just struggling is Tiamba. I mean, if anything, they're kind of just noise on the map right now. You know, they're basically just points for some of these teams to pick up, and I really don't like saying that about Tiamba because that team is actually really insane, but they are also having similar issues that T1 is having, and that's not being proactive or really playing as a team and playing for trades. Obviously, we just saw that from T1, but we really needed to see that from Tiamba as well, and I mean, they're kind of running out of options considering this is the last game.
Yeah, indeed it is. And looking at the top of that leaderboard, Avenger, probably the most consistent team that we have seen this entire weekend. 35 points in day 1, so far 30 here in day number 2. TSM, is this looking like a team that's maybe rounding the corner?
Yeah, I think they, like, their consistency in the previous weeks just talks. They should have been in. Like, they threw a game. It was their own fault. They should have been in the weekly finals, and they're a team that can be in there. I mean, yeah, it's been rough for them, but coming in here proving that they deserve to have as many games possible, they're gonna do, like, they're definitely gonna be doing as well as they've been doing here in the weekly survival, and they definitely want to get back into the weekly finals.
We've got one more match to play, and that is when we are going to decide who is coming in first, who is coming in, more importantly, who's going to come in last, and who is not going to have a shot at making the next weekly finals. It is very, very close, and here to bring us this final game are the Sims and Cameron Davis. Guys, take it away.
Thank you, Poro. Yes, indeed. This is our final match of the bottom 16. Once we're all said and done, teams will find their footing to where they enter the weekly survival next week. TSM have jumped up to the top of the leaderboards. The downfall of Meta in the previous match, where it came as a an actual 16th placement, garnered them only 1 point. A 1st and 3rd placement, though, out of TSM respectively. That's 2 Thurston thirds actually over the last 2 days, is the reason that they've managed to jump up, but it's only by 1 point. So everyone at the moment is still fighting for that 7-team spot. FaZe Clan, the consistency, a third, a fourth, and a second over the last 2 days as well has kept them up there, kept them in with at least the frags. So certainly earlier on with a 14 frag game, that has paid dividends. Sonics, 4th position, DA down in 5th. The biggest gainer out of all of this is absolutely T1. If they can have another shining performance, a win, a couple of points on the board, they're right there up in the top 3 with the best of them.
Yeah, 37 points on the day for T1 so far, and that's only being overshadowed by DA's 40. That's just 3 points that could easily be overcome. T1 could easily this game be the best team of the day in this series, because remember, we do have the full finals after this in just a couple hours from now, but we do have one more game for the reseeding event. And what a circle to end on. Of course, we're going to see military. FaZe, I'm sure, are loving this, having dropped there to loot up. And then Meta, DXG, Na'Vi, right next to the bridges to make their own rotation across very, very quickly on. Everyone else to the north side, K7, E36, Furia, way far north past the river, aren't going to be too happy about this one.
Let's just kind of put, really quickly T1's performance in that last one, how night and day it really is. In 7 games, is it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of them have been double-digit figures when it comes to placement points. Like, we're barely scraping a few points per game. It's just a couple of scrappy frags here and there. And then all of a sudden, bam, 17 frags and a win. 10 points for the win, 1 point per kill, 27, job done. Like, I get a lot of things kind of fall into the ways of that, and it's not always like that, but it just shows what a difference one absolute god-tier performance of a game can do. If they get anywhere even close to that, it just gives them that much of a bolster up into the top 5 and much more leverage next week in the weekly survival, because that's what it's all about, right? It's you kind of, the higher you are up, and this is the way I kind of see it and try best to explain it to people, because I know that the format isn't the easiest thing to follow in the world, but it's just giving yourselves more cracks of the whip. It's just giving yourself more opportunity to propel yourself into the finals.
Yeah, exactly. And sure, of the 37 points that they've gotten today, T1 have gotten 27 of them in 1 game. That's 10 in 2 games, which, you can still look at that and be, is that exactly a sign of finally coming to life as a team? But that game that they got those 27 points, that wasn't just them sitting in a compound farming people rushing in because there were nowhere else to go. They actively had to move and push and press and come in from the edge multiple times. It was clinical play. It was great, strong play by them. It wasn't just circle luck. And so the mystery is, the wonder is, was this a flash in the pan? Can they keep it up as the games advance on? Right now, DXG, they're advancing on by getting to the coast, trying to scout ahead, moving fast as they did last round as well. I think a little bit more gear, at least for the players that we saw this time. I didn't exactly see an ump, but I think I saw a level 2 piece of armor or helmet.
So we'll give the lay of the land here and kind of put it into perspective and paint a picture of who's where and how things will be unfolding. Na'Vi, FaZe Clan, the European CIS combo, all the way over on Sosnovka Island. We've got a mixed bag of Na'Vi playing the more western side with the houses and the compounds. FaZe Clan are split between just the edge of Novo, through the radio tower, and then actually down into Miller. They've got one player there, and that's going to be Fuzzface actually in the military unit itself. Further afield, we'll look towards Milta Power. You'll see Damwon Kia. Across the road, just across the road, around the shark fin kind of area and the actual bay itself, like the beachhead, you'll see Meta. First teams to try and cross the bridge, and I'm glad we've jumped on board with it. It will probably be Sonics. They're now moved, kind of the liquid old strat. You go straight out of Pachinki and you head straight to the bridge. A little bit of preemptive scouting, I would assume. Take this hill, take this ditch, make sure no one's going to be behind you. More importantly, make sure no one's in front of you. The question is, what will they do? Will they opt to go to the ferry pier, try and get themselves a boat? Will they opt to go across the bridge, try and just kind of full send it? In these scenarios, especially when it's the final game, it's probably a better option to try and grab a boat. I mean, hell, there's a ferry that's going back and forth if it's, if it's worst case scenario here at the end of the day.
It's free, right?
Yeah.
What's the ticket price for that?
Well, probably death, You have to.
Yeah,
it depends if anyone's on the coastline.
Fair point. I don't know if that's in my budget. Metagaming right now. Good, yeah, good call for Sills in here to go across on his boat by himself as a single player to essentially scout ahead. It is so difficult to take these beaches because of, what is it, like a couple 100 feet of just open area once you land. But he is there saying, okay, coast is clear. Even this early in the game, you want to be careful. You want to be precise with that. The rest of his team all got in a boat of their own to follow up behind him, and they are now taking a position. Sonics, though, they're taking the bridge, it looks like. They're scouting ahead of it. They have a player on the high ground to overlook it. Now Tailton's going to be going in first. I'm right behind. And I can tell you from looking at the map that there is no one immediately lying in wait. Navi are going to be at the buildings just past the bridge, but that's still a safe enough cross for them at the moment.
Yeah, take the lighthouse, have a quick peek, see what's going on. It'll be the same principle for TSM. Try and take a look and see who's on the opposing side, make sure the coast is clear. FaZe are not in a position to bridge camp, but they are in a position to actually get information, garner the info from the radio tower, look down upon TSM. Meta, I mean, you could, if you really wanted to get involved with this bridge, just go get involved with it if you really, really felt like it. I think someone just clipped the bridge. The best of driving from Ira at the back there. It's not the easiest bridge to camp, given that there isn't a compound so close. On the opposing one, you've got a couple of rocks and other things that you can kind of hide behind. Yes, you do have that right-hand turn that teams tend to take and just go straight up the hill and get you out of vision. Yeah. Sometimes the odd player here and there will just kind of be chilling in the woods, but it's certainly a much harder because of how it works with the drop-off to be able to camp this bridge. Again, I'm fine with FaZe's position here. It's a really strong compound. You can see what they're doing with TSM. They're just getting tons and tons of info, keeping a track of it. Detonation Gaming White will be the next team that comes across that bridge. Again, keep track of them. It might even be a point of, for FaZe Clan, try and put a few shots into Detonation Gaming and force feed TSM. You may think, okay, well, you're just giving them points here, but you're also forcing an engagement and maybe doing damage early on.
Yeah, and don't discount the freedom that you get for removing a player from a game early. Even if the points don't go into your pocket, it does still give you potential opportunities later on down the line. FaZe was shooting at TSM while they were crossing, so I imagine they'll be doing the same against Detonation Gaming. Problem is they might not want to be too loud because we saw two players on top of that hill, on top of the satellite tower. It's only two of their players there. The other two are further towards the west. One half between them and military base, one in military base itself. So FaZe are trying to take a hold of a big chunk of land here, considering that they were here first. They feel like they have a right to it. DXG and Sonics, they're both on the south side of Sosnovka. This isn't on the coast between Erangel and Sosnovka itself. This is on the south end. So Sonics being pushed away, going closer into Sosnovka itself.
You got to remember, further down south of Sosnovka, how many circles we've had end there between. It used to be just like, okay, milli, upwards of milli, but now it feels more like it's off of the back of that runway. Because I think it comes down to there is a tiny amount of water now with the upturned BRDMs that it will push away from them generally. We used to have runway endings all the time. You know, you'd see the little, like, go on, what's the word I'm looking for? The little wall that comes into play that runs parallel to the runway. We saw so many snakes back in previous 2019, 2018 circles that end there. But now we just don't get them. Yeah. They just doesn't go towards the runway. And I'd like it to, because there's that whole new terrain, whole new area. You've got the upturned BRDMs, you've got the ditches, you've got the ponds, you've got the plains. There's so much new terrain to play with, but we just don't get it. And it does funnel down more towards the south side. So I understand why Sonics are still probably trying to find a place to call home. They just want to prepare themselves for that potential southern push.
Ooh, good spray here. Raspu gets taken down by Tiamba. Now the rest of Furia, where are they going to go? Tiamba don't have a position to stop a push over the bridge itself. They're going to be shooting a little bit medium to long range with that one, but it's still enough of a threat to force Furia away. One of them's actually going up on the high ground satellite. And a couple of more shots on the transitioning team. K7 shooting out the entirety of Petrichor Road, who are all in a boat. And that's actually a fair bit of damage, and they're still in the blue. It doesn't do a lot of damage at the moment, but it is still going to chip away.
For the driver, he'd have to pull over in order to heal, circle, updates, fixate on FaZe Clan's position. Furia committed to the calls when it comes to the bridge. We saw a tire pop, then the car just bounced a little bit. Same again, that is a lot of damage done. The spray will continue. First player falls. Next victim, can it be found? Look at that thing, it's just dragging. Keep going, my dude, this is fine. This is fine. Everything is fine. Everything is fine. Necro Day. This is not fine. This is absolutely not fine whatsoever. Look, if he actually camps here on the outskirts of the bridge, if Linshun doesn't see him, and he's just done the 9,000 IQ play to camp them from the outside as a bit of a revenge, like, I will be very impressed. Nope, Linshun's got him. Not happening. Denied instantly.
Yeah.
It was a good attempt. I'm okay with it.
Yeah, I imagine that was mostly to try and find cover because of the angle that Tiamba had up until Linshun's relocation. And I think you saw him move a little bit, try and get closer to that wall right in front of him, the beam in front of him, to try and block cover once he saw the relocation from Linshun. But either way, it was a decent attempt, as you said. And now it's just one member of Fury remaining. But this is the hardship over towards the east side. And now Divine are pushing in to Detonation Gaming, who have a full setup here. This is the right-hand curve that you were talking about that everyone takes over this bridge, but it's still not super free. Is that a vehicle knock? Did he get run over?
I think it was a drive-by. That's just been denied. Like, that was the more perfect setup there. You have two down low, you have one on the right-hand side. You flush them. As you're looking at the bridge, you flush them to the left, and you leave players in the woods to collect what you've already started. Unfortunately, this has gone terribly wrong. The answer back is absolutely there, and LG Divine have come out on top. Two players almost removed. Sorry, I thought C's was down. Good response from Machau. Instantly goes for the nade, and of course, it's the danger in the distance phase. Look at how much information, look at how much vision they have on this fight. All these players, and the unfortunate thing is we've got a few that are down towards the bottom side of this leaderboard. Thankfully, it's not necessarily down one Kia, but it is Detonation Gaming White. You got two teams that are trying to avoid 32nd. Remember, you get 32nd, you do not get to play next week. That is the punishment.
There is one member of Detonation Gaming White remaining, and they are already still currently in 32nd, so it's not even a risk of them being overtaken if they go out early. It is a risk of not getting any points to try and climb out myself. C's is trying to go big, trying to find any of the opportunities that he can, because they know how important these points are right now.
It's really hard. It's going to be super, super hard for C's, but if I'd have saw in the kill feed that Fury is gone, you know that they were lurking and lingering. There's only a 4-point difference. Like, this is going to be a insanely hard fight. But if you can just out-survive these other teams, if you can just somehow outgun them, or just no matter what, you just got to be 1 point above them, right? This is a small opportunity that C's has, but he has to go into basically recuperation mode and hide. He needs to find a shack, he needs to find it now, and he needs to hide. If he dies, they're done. They're 32nd. It's as simple as that. Unless Damn One Kia somehow doesn't win out this battle. Kale's down and out on his own. Probably no point of revival for that.
At this point, yeah, the fight has happened some time with a nice flank inside. Spots one, but doesn't get the knock and immediately turned upon with Mamu there, just peeking right into the door frame. So what could have been a great opportunity is not, unfortunately, capitalized upon well. Kale is still bleeding out. So as you mentioned, Damn One Kia, they had an opportunity with 4 up. You would imagine that they would have had a better shot than C's to climb out of that bottom spot. But now Kale being confirmed by Xlep, it is now officially 2 members of Kia remaining, and they need to still get to the circle themselves. I don't even know where their vehicles are, if they have an opportunity to drive, and they could be out of luck.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff going on the map, and I hate to try and fixate on the bottom place teams, but it's as important as at the top. You have to avoid. It absolutely is. You have to avoid that 32nd spot. With Furia going down, it kind of opens it up for other teams to maybe try and jump them. I mean, look at Tiamba, they can get above it. Detonation Gaming, it's going to be a very rough spot, but certainly they have to outlive, or the one player in C's has to outlive 2 members of Damn One Kia who have basically come under the baton of Petrichor Road down at the bottom. Wookie Bookie, that car is just gliding away, trying to find a place to heal up. TSM, lots of damage has been done. Wookie Bookie has been found. The tap fire continues from Linshun. Confirmation on the kill, and again, just Ring around the roses, play around the trees. That's fine. TSM second player will fall, and yeah, it's just going from bad to worst. Ira falls, long K, banger of a shot onto Ira, puts him down, puts him in the grave. Under, I'm fine with this. You know what? I would say as a solo, you probably don't want to be doing this in any normal circumstance. But literally, you got to think for down 1 Kia, they only need a few points. They just have to jump up above Detonation Gaming White. Anything that they can claw, anything that they can make their own, just 1 point, every little helps. And essentially, it could keep them away from that 30-second dead zone.
Yeah, I mean, listen, one game that 31st place has isn't much more than 0, but it's still infinitely better than 0 games to play. But look how close Indigo is pushed up. Behind the cover of smoke, and Under is still going loud, still being a huge distraction, still doing damage to Pero. Cannot get the knock there. A little bit of a missed opportunity. But Uba is also here to try and answer back. Kia, they are finding these knocks against Petrichor Road. They're still out in the blue. It's still not a comfortable position by any stretch of the imagination, especially with FaZe here to pick up the scraps to vulture this. But the hardship towards the east side is a little bit of a lifeline.
That is phenomenal. Phenomenal work from Indigo and Under. They may have just avoided the 30-second spot by doing the dirty onto Petrichor Road. That is so damn good. You know, don't get me wrong, 15th place in all of this, it's not great, but it's not last place, and that's what's the most important thing. At least they get one shot, one opportunity to jump over. If they get another one, hell, you know, there's still opportunities here to overtake Furia, because they went out on 24th. We'd have to assume they're above them only on frags, so one more would place them above that. And for Detonation Gaming White, for C's, you now have to survive to the late game. You now have to pick up placement points, because the solo Snake, this story, in my opinion, is almost raw.
Demon Kia have not been playing to the level of expectations, but Under and Indigo are the 2 best players on that team, likely 2 of the best players in the entirety of Korea. And when you're down to 2 players, that could almost be a little bit of a benefit for these teams that are struggling on the strategic standpoint, because when you're down to a duo, you don't play strategically, you just play for frags, you just play to get kills. And so hopefully that's something that Damwon Kia can try and execute on, but as you mentioned earlier, FaZe, they're still tunneling in onto this, and he actually goes down to the blue.
C's just got a frag. C's just took out, there was only one player of LG Divine left. He actually, okay, this is getting kind of interesting towards the bottom. Like, you know, everyone's just trying to avoid it. Another part that we didn't really touch about is that Tiamba fully wiped out Digital Athletics a couple of minutes ago, and again, they were down in this bottom 4. Kind of by doing that solidifies them a couple of more chances and a couple of more opportunities next week during the weekless final. So a final sign of life from Tiamba. There is a lifeline there. It is a very small rope and a very thin line to be walking on, but it is something, and we'll take that. Indigo just sliding around. Sees, nope, it's done. Detonation Gaming White is eliminated, and unfortunately, they will be securing the big L of the 30-second placement for this week, and will not be playing in next week's weekly survival. For Damwon Kia, 1 player alive. He can get 1 more frag. Well, he gets his team a second attempt at trying to qualify.
He's not in a bad position either, just to start climbing up placement points. We still have to remove a couple of teams before those really start to kick in, but he's basically dead center of the map with that grab onto the tower. If we see a hardship, that's of course going to mess things up, but at the moment, it's going to be difficult for anyone to try and tunnel vision and really focus in on finding that last player. Late game, he's not going to be able to do much from that spot. That tower is an easy pocket just to toss a grenade in, but for now, it's pretty safe. It's pretty safe. The shift does go towards the west, towards Navi's direction, towards T1's direction, as well as Tianba. They don't have hard cover from that southwest position that they're at right now, but it's good high ground. And what does this crate deliver to Sonics? That's the big question that we're all wondering right now.
It's like the Hunger Games. Toffees is somewhere in NA, just like, I don't know, buying a crate and sending it in for North America. Here you go, boys. There's an AWM. Have fun, enjoy. Claw yourself up and get more opportunities to be able to try and qualify. But yeah, to kind of just touch on Indigo again as well. I don't want to harp too much on about it, but it is kind of cool to think that parking a car there, sticking it in front of it, if he just gets 1 more frag from only the work that he has done already with his teammate, like from avoiding 32nd and getting themselves into at least one opportunity to try and qualify, he'd get a second. So he's just buying more tickets at the moment for the qualification party, and I'm cool with that. I think it's a cool little thing to kind of envision with Furia going down. There is that one tiny opportunity. We'll just keep a track of the kill feed. I don't think he jumps E36. If he did, it would just be an absolute miracle and probably come more down to placement than anything else. Besto onto Satu. Where is that? Okay, this is because Navi committed to the bunkers. So they won't be going too far and probably just keeping a track of the south and the west.
We're looking on the east right now. Meta are slowly approaching. FaZe are overlooking Sonics. They know that they're there, and they're also taking stock of the rest of the map. Will they be aware of the Latin American team pushing up just to their north? Bit of a choo-choo split here. Ragaldino sprays through. He gets a second with the backup of Silson. Shrimzy trades that one out, though, and actually immediately confirms. So that is one down officially for Meta. But now FaZe have 8C left, and that is not the bump that you would have wanted to hit.
Dun, 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 dun. Is he gonna survive? Yeah, he does. Survives. Okay, yeah, it's just all for style points, right? It's the magic vehicle somehow stay alive. Whether or not he can stay alive is a different question altogether, because now he's running into Navi's territory, but it's T1 who spot him first. 8C is removed. FaZe Clan go down in 11th. FaZe have done enough work this week, or this weekend, I should say. Third position. They could be overtaken by Sonics very easily, given they're on 59 points and only one behind them. Make it 60 as... Oh, wait. Was that... No, it wasn't. Okay, so it was a knock. It wasn't quite stolen away just yet, but they'll at least be able to join them up in that rank. So another couple coming out the side of Sonics, and it's job done. Wicked doing all he can to stay alive. Lyncham will fall. Tiamba earlier on with a full squad wipe onto D8. Where's T1's position all this? Okay, so they're front and center. They're actually further afield in the middle on top of the bunkers, and probably in one of the most prime positions so far for this circle.
Yeah, it's really strong. The way that the bunkers work, it will allow K7 to sort of play an interesting 2-4 situation with them, but woo, there it is. That's a nice meaty knock. Tickleton takes Booyah out, and so I was about to say K7 could have had a bit of a synonymous relationship with T1, but Sonics are going to make that difficult using the high ground against them. But Sonics do need to do more work in order to get to the circle themselves, because that shift, while it was a shift center, it wasn't really a shift in terms of where the circle is concerned. It was a shift away still from Sonic's position. Able to get 4 up despite the scraps with FaZe and Meta, but it's not going to be an easy approach. The cover of trees could help them a little bit, but they know that DXG is high ground above them to the southeast. Tiamba also a little bit of a high ground just to the south edge of the circle as well.
Bombardment begins onto the shack. Miracle, we're looking for a miracle as the door is finally removed. One more nade rolls through that. Unfortunately, TSM will be eliminated, but TSM's had a damn good run here. Meta going down all the way at the top, hoping that TSM do die earlier, or at least do die soon, and kind of solidifies themselves that 17th spot. That's going to be... I'll let the desk kind of touch on that for Meta. We've seen some ups and downs. There's some very bad placements for them, and even sparking on social media saying, you know, it's just the difficulties of this game. I think from a mental aspect, this is going to be so good for their confidence going forward into next week, and I'm excited to really see Meta play now. They've had a bit of time to adjust to the LAN environment, to the situation, to how this competition's going. With the backup of the confidence of a 17th spot, I'm pretty excited to see what they can give us next week. So we'll keep an eye on that one and see how it unfolds. Enter Force 36 goes down in 9th, and Camwon Kia has outlived them. The solo player has outlived them, Cammy, and give them another chance next week.
He could climb one more up as well. E36 only have 1 point ahead of them, but Sonic's now with the bomb onto K7's position. Shrimzy trying to find another knock of his own, but it's, of course, kill feed all going the way of K7. It's a difficult send. You can't expect it to be perfect. And they could still get a revive onto these two players, but they have to go fast. Tiggleton's going to have to land some more of these shots or corral K7 into Navi. That's another strategy. Zednon goes down. That's huge, and that's great revenge for Kenon's assassination onto Navi from the previous game. And this is opening an opportunity for Tiggleton to try and go for the revive. But Locksluck is here to push them back.
The vehicle's there as well to give him a little bit of cover while he hits that res, but Locksluck's there. The call has been made. Just deny it whatsoever. Go for it and see what you can do, but unfortunately, it's for naught. K7 Bullet from Tiggleton almost solidified the deal for one of the players over here, but the response is good. The circle, the push, you touched on it, Cammy. It was always going to be Dire Straits, a very open run. The smokes, they did exactly what they could, but with the rocks and the cover that's provided to K7, it was kind of inevitable at that point. A valiant attempt comes out from Sonics, but unfortunately, they do go down. Third position overall. They'll be extremely happy with that one. It's still a damn good performance, whichever way you want to cut it. Na'Vi, time to send it. The tab's over with the vehicle, edging ever so closer to this mass grouping of teams. K7, T1, Na'Vi, everyone just clawing. And meanwhile, you've got Indigo on the opposing side, basically just banging people with an SKS and keeping them outside of the circle.
Answering back, they know that K7 are wounded. They might not know that the revive hasn't come through, but it's still a 4 versus 2 at worst for them. We know it's a 4 versus 1. It's going to make that even worse for the K7 side of things. And now Miraku's still trying to hold off. He's been facing off against Tiamba this entire time. They've been slowly chipping away at the cover of his shack, but Lorena peeking around the side. Miraku, he was on borrowed time as it was, and now Tiamba pushing forward towards circle, but they are still not inside just yet. The revive for K7 does come through, despite Na'Vi being right there on their doorstep. This could give K7 an opportunity to answer back. They're already defending against Sonics, but the utility being thrown by Na'Vi might be a little bit too much.
Yeah, it's a fight for the middle of the pack here. T1, DXG, Na'Vi, 7, 8, 9 respectively. Again, if they can switch positions, you're just giving yourself more opportunities, more tickets to the show next week. We shall see for Na'Vi. Bit of a height advantage onto K7. Have to be aware of Tiamba on the opposing side. However, there will be vision obscured by the tree line at least. So they have that going for them. Meanwhile, Indigo still just trying to get this final point to put his team into 13th, and to drag yourself from 16th to 13th, that's got to feel good, but I'm assuming there is some kind of utility about to come his way. There's the mullet. It's been posted. Is it in the letterbox? It absolutely is. Burn, baby, burn. And down one Kia is gone. But they jump up to 13th because of the placement, because he survived. So he moves above E36 because K7 in the distance went down. Na'Vi goes out. T1 eliminates them. We said for T1 we wanted to see something. We wanted to see something fantastic. A secondary win back-to-back. There's only 2 bloody members of Tiamba left. Like, this just exploded in mere seconds. From us looking at one fight to jump onto another one, we lost Na'Vi, we lost K7. Down one Kia jumped up a placement. T1 jumped up several placements. And they could be doing exactly the same again. They could overtake FaZe at this point.
They might, if they find these last 2 kills on Tiamba, that's going to be, what, 6 extra points on top? That could be overtaking FaZe. I thought FaZe was safe in 4th place at the very worst. But T1, they were hiding inside the bunker, and they didn't have to do a lot of work. But their exit to take out the entirety of Na'Vi to still have 4 strong to maintain their control in the rest of this game. Tiamba, it was a good fight for them to get 11 kills of their own this game, but most of that were taking pot shots at teams from the high ground. It wasn't a full-on man fight like this one's going to have to be. So for these final 2 Tiamba players, they're going to have to come up huge, but at the moment, I don't see T1 giving them any space to work with.
Well, there's absolutely nothing left to lose whatsoever. So for Tiamba, you won't be giving this one up to the blue. You want to be doing whatever you can to get forward and try and pick up, even if it's just 1 frag point from a refrag. Just go for it. So there's no point to see these 2 guys sitting and letting the blue take them away. But also, the options that are directly in front of them are completely limited. Starlord's going for the full send. All 3 of them are here. Adder comes in with the SLR to put 1 down. And now all of a sudden they can fixate on the final one. It's M200. The last chance to dance, but he gets the knock, but all 3 players will fixate onto his position. They're up in the tower. Aqua 5's coming round in the vehicle. Is it the run over? Is it the drive-by? It's neither. Out of the vehicle, looking for him. Doesn't quite fully have the info here. Looking for the wrong car, but the nade should find it. There's one in the front, one in the back. He's being tagged up. The nade's there. He's trying to survive, but the final molly will do the job. T1 not only overtake FaZe Clan, they overtake Sonics as well. They've just jumped from near mid to bottom of the board into 3rd position.
They were
that is
15th place.
Wow.
Yeah, it's
yeah,
amazing. I don't think we've seen a jump like this in a long time. They had 37 points before this game. This is going to give them, what, another 15? No, not quite so much, but 18 points. 18 points overall from the end of that game. It
was kind of chaos towards the end. We were trying to keep track of top of the board and bottom of the board and back and forth here, there, and everywhere. But ultimately, I feel like it's for some of the biggest winners in that final game, it was the Korean teams. Like we've seen Damwon Kia going from dead last, and now getting themselves a couple of opportunities from the final 2 players to be able to play next week. Yes, granted, it's not as many as what you would want to be able to try and qualify in a game where wins literally mean everything. But still, it's better than nothing. It's better than 32nd. T1, by far, has been the biggest winner of this weekend. A poor set of performances. What did we count? We were like 5, 6 sub-double-digit figures to 2 huge wins on the bounce back-to-back. Like, we didn't even see the final 5 with them because K7, Na'Vi, T1, like, they just brushed them aside completely. Kicked up the frag points, like... Cami, any final words before we chuck it back to the desk?
Just still focusing on T1, 8 points yesterday, 55 points today.
We'll leave it at that. Thank you very much. It's been fun casting. We'll throw it back to the desk now to break down all the final stats.
Well, if you can't have great games all the time, might as well have 2 where you pick up 45 points, right, boys? Easy peasy. Easiest thing ever. T1 getting their second big win, and finding themselves flying all the way up to 3rd place overall in the leaderboards. Let's take a look at the results from that last one. But, I mean, it was not an easy sled for them, was it, Martin?
No, it was some rough games yesterday. So coming into the day and then stepping up, and also throughout the day, they fought for it. They put in some really good effort into this one, and managed to take a win from this one as well, going back to back. And this amount of points, 45 points in 2 games and 55 in all of today, really impressive. Honestly, this is what we were talking about. Like, they had the tendencies, they were kind of there. They had, 2nd and 3rd place in the weekly survival, and they had a lot of kills to it as well. They just need that last kind of push, and I think this is what they needed going into the weekly survival. I think they're going to be doing quite well and qualifying for weekly finals next week.
I think one of the biggest things from these last 2 games that we've watched from T1 is that we can take away is that their communication looks to be spot on once again, kind of like it was looking during practice. To be honest, it looked like they were all operating as a unit, which is something that we have not seen from them throughout 2020, or at least it's been kind of hit or miss here and there. Godspeed, I want to talk to you about another team. Okay,
Sure.
For a good
Talk to me.
5 minutes there, it was looking like Damwon Kia was going to be out of this thing,
Right.
and they still managed. They
there.
managed to snake their way in and get a couple more points. They managed to collect 3 games now for themselves. But if you're an organization like Damwon Kia with the history and the power that that team represents, what are you thinking here? Are you thinking like, oh, sigh of relief, or are we thinking we got a lot of work to do?
I mean, Indigo and Under were literally the only reason that they're playing next week. Otherwise, Damwon Kia was not going to be in the next week's survival at all. And I mean, it's really hard to pinpoint like what that team's issue is, because they didn't really have those issues coming into this event. So whatever is happening, whether it's a communication breakdown, whether it's them putting them in a good position themselves to rotate, I don't know, but they've fallen apart very much in team fights, which is like the last place, by the way, I think you would ever think that they would fall apart in, but there it is. But metagaming, man, Meta and TSM were so incredibly consistent. I don't really want to say that about T1, because if you look at the leaderboard, you think they did well all the last 2 days, but it was really just today, just last 2 games. But huge hats off to Meta and TSM, as well as Sonics and FaZe. I mean, they all played very well. And Digital Athletics, of course. Got to talk about that top 6.
Absolutely. And what I'm interested to see, Avenger, is it going to be a good performance by Meta, or is it going to be Miramar where they just get all their points on one map and then just kind of fall flat on the rest of them. We'll see how it works out. Either way, it doesn't really matter. They got first place. They're going to be our first team that fills in after the first chicken dinner, so they're going to get a lot of opportunities to play here. Are there any big surprises on this this leaderboard for you as to where teams might have ended up here?
Yeah, obviously Damonkia. LD Divines kind of surprised me as well. They went stale today. The Tiamba comeback in the last game was also kind of impressive, but I mean, you want to be on the left side of the leaderboard here. And Division X Gaming, they had some good tendencies. So did Petrica Road. But I think our top 5, top 6 is looking really good. I think they're going to be having some good games, and I think at least half of them is going to put a chicken dinner on the board and go to the weekly finals for the next weekly survival series.
I agree.
Yep. Tiamba had a little bit of a come up as well, as they were looking kind of bad, and then all of a sudden the last couple of games they managed to climb 5 points, so they're going to give themselves a little bit of room to work with. But that is going to do it for us today for these reseeding games. Keep in mind, in a couple of hours we'll be kicking off the second day of these weekly finals. I know everybody's excited to see how those end up, who's going to get the money, who's going to get in the top 4. Stay tuned and watch. But that is going to do it for us. Thank you so much for watching us. And until next time, play more PUBG, I guess. As Toffee says, right? Yeah. We'll take it.